What's up, YouTube? What is up, those listening on the audio platform? This is episode 47 of the Beefy Boys Breakdown. We're going to be talking all about UFC 262. We have a new lightweight champion this morning, and we know how fun. It's really cool, bro. I'll be real. It didn't really hit me in the moment, but kind of after the fights, I was just thinking of this is a culmination of months and months and months of talking about this lightweight division and kind of speculating of how this was all going to play out after Khabib's retirement and all that. And I just realized we kind of got a little bit of an answer. Now, what do we do as MMA fans? We start asking new questions and we need new answers now. But this is a culmination of months of the questions and speculating about our little lightweight tournament.
Yeah, it's honestly wild. Shout out to my boy Waz, watching from New York, keeping it mean up there. Shout out to, I guess, Schultz, because he's going back to New York, he said. He announced that finally. But, yeah, man, it's crazy because, if you think about the lightweight crown, it goes from McGregor and Khabib back and forth. And, I mean, not really back and forth, but you know what I mean? The hype train as far as, just those two guys is all that mattered at lightweight for the last 4 years, 3 years.
Yeah.
And now we finally have both of them kind of out of the picture. Connor's not, but he kind of is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I can't wait to get into all that for sure. And I don't know. I kind of want to go a little fast over, pretty much, because I want to spend plenty of time on everything from Venata onward. I feel like we can kind of get through these first, 5 relatively quick. So we'll dive in. As I said, I want to go balls deep on the main card and Jacare fight, too. We'll kind of lump that in the featured prelim, and there's a lot to get to, man, for sure. But man, also a little quick point. I feel I don't know how many. I feel I say this every week, bro. The first fight of the night, the first fight on the early prelims, almost always ends up having some severe foreshadowing involved.
It really is kind of wild, man. And we used to talk about how the foreshadowing came in the sense of as well of usually if the prelim opener was a banger, we were well, the rest of the card usually is chill after that. But honestly, they've kind of broken out of that mold even in the last 6 months, I'd say. And it's just I feel the card's been really good, minus that one card that was about a month ago that I said was my least favorite card of the year. But
for sure.
Going to get snoozers, you know what I mean? They got to do 50-something a year or 40-something a year. Yeah,
for sure, man. They aren't all going to be winners, but man, this card was a winner in my books, and this opening fight was a winner in my books. It was like I said, a little bit of foreshadowing. The way this fight went down is going to be how some of the bigger fights went down on this card. But yeah, we'll start these early prelims off. We got Christos Giagos as a -200 favorite, fighting Sean Soriano, +170 underdog, fighting in the lightweight division. Once again, foreshadowing. Last night was all about the lightweight division. And man, also wanted to say, razor thin money lines throughout the whole card. I think
the biggest favorite was -210, bro. We talked about this going into it about how close all of these matchups were leading into the week. I was shocked by the matchmaking.
It's always hard to make picks. You never feel confident about every pick, but this week I was fucking, let me just bust out my old trusty quarter and do some coin flips because these are some razor thin matchups for sure.
And it wasn't anyone, if they were a dog that had won last night, was a real dog. You know what I mean? It was always it was just a fight, and it was Vegas having to make a favorite and not a favorite. And in one case, which we'll get to soon, there was a pick'em, a legit pick'em that took 60 seconds and wasn't that close.
I know, dude. So much fun last night. Man, and it was cool because, round one, so it was a banger, first off. Like I said, setting the tone.
Sir.
Plenty of bangers last night. The elevated bonuses, too. Can't forget to mention that.
Oh, I forgot about that. 75 grand. That's right.
Yeah, Tony, said it in the press conference, kind of I don't know if it was tongue-in-cheek. I guess it turned out to be real, but he was like, hey, Dana, everything's bigger in Texas. How about some Texas-sized bonuses? I think Travis Brown called for it back in the day and didn't get it. And then Tony Ferguson brought all that up. And then in the moment, Dana White, in front of all the cameras and everything, I was watching it. You could tell he didn't like the question. He got kind of uncomfortable. But then, later on that night,
he's the worst when something doesn't go his way. He just, instantly changes his, persona.
Man, and then, later that night, he tweeted out, all right, Tony, let's do these 75K Texas-sized bonuses. And I was like, all right, that's pretty dope. Every once in a while, Scrooge McDuck gets one right.
Yeah, I mean, and you know what's crazy is, we talk about it oh, yeah, shout out to Dana for making 75K. Dude, they should all just get that to show up and fight, to be honest. You know what I mean? The amount of money the UFC makes is disgusting compared to what they pay their athletes.
Man, I forgot which fucking podcast I was watching. I was watching some fight shows. Probably no, I know it wasn't Chael because he doesn't usually like to talk bad about fighter pay. But I forget who it was. But anyway, they were talking about how like the ring girl Ariane Celeste makes more than like a lot of fighters. Like
what?
Yeah,
really?
Bro. I wish I could think of which show I was watching. It wasn't DC and Ariel either. What fucking show was I watching? I don't know. And they're talking about. Yeah, Ariana Celeste. Obviously not.
Was
the
it
big
Sean O'Malley?
Fighters. Maybe it was. I'm blanking there. You have to forgive me. I'm sure somebody out there watched it too. But yeah, Ariana Celeste makes more than some fighters, which I kind of saw two sides of that. Like part of me is like, I'm really glad the ring girls are getting like taken care of and properly compensated. And I'm sure they are. They were referring to like guys on their first contract and stuff. Like I'm sure she's not making more than like big name fighters, but
and she's been with the company for 10 years,
for a long time. Yeah, like I don't want
her loyalty to the company.
Yeah, like I don't want to like take this as we should like pay her less, but yeah, we should pay the fighters more.
But here's where I think it makes sense now that I'm thinking about it. These girls, like, how much money can they make from their Instagrams and social medias today? Just modeling and doing like photo shoots. Which they do that on the side still. If you ever follow these UFC ring girls, like she's actually super cool because she follows fighting. Like she'll talk about like Bellator fights. Like she's in the sport. So I do like Ariane as a specific example. But like they have to pay her a lot because she wouldn't do it if they didn't pay her what her time was worth because other people would. So I see it in that perspective too.
And I actually like the fact that they have like name recognition. Like that's Ariane fucking Celeste. That's not like random ring girl slut B. You know what I'm saying? These other promotions, go to like Hooters parking lots on the way to the fights and just, or go pick up your local Applebee's bartender like on the way to the arena. And like these girls are like, they have legit brands, legit fans, legit followings. Like I'm pretty sure they're on like the Topps UFC cards and shit. So good for them.
Right.
Yeah.
But like, shout out to Anik too, because Anik always shouts out the girls, and it's hilarious.
I know them strictly because of the shouts out that Anik gives them. But for sure, man, let's get to this actual fight. That's all to say. Like, we got a lot of bangers last night. Tyron Woodley after the show was alluding that we got the bangers because of the elevated bonuses. Plus, you got to combine the fan factor in. But anyway, guys were banging it out last night. What is up, George Kittle? My guy.
Hey, what's up, George?
Shout out to you. Hope you're having getting ready to have a good training camp, my guy. Miss you, but thanks for tuning in. And
actually, a little caveat: his trainer Jeremy Holt is Michael Chandler's trainer out in Nashville.
That's dope. Hell yeah, hell yeah. That's what's up, man. But yeah, man, Christos Giagos, because this fight started off with a banger, round one, because I had a 10-9 Soriano after one, but like I wanted to be very clear that both men were eating shots, both men were landing shots. It was a banger of a first round, and
George is asking for his shirt and seeing if saying last night made him sad. George, tell us what you thought of the fight, man. Mike. Like, tell us. I mean, we'll get into the breakdown, but while we got you here, you know what I'm saying.
I'll give you the shirt off my back, George Kittle.
Yeah. Also, let me know what size you want, because you're a 6'5", 250-pound machine now, and I wouldn't know what size you would wear.
Bet he wears the same size as me. We're pretty similar in build. But oh man,
but yeah, man, we'll dive back into Soriano and Giagos.
Yeah, man, because round one Soriano looked amazing. Well, amazing as in down to trade, willing to engage, and he showed up to fight.
And if you want to request George in, he said he's down to jump in with us. Up to you. I don't know if we can go three ways, can we?
Yeah, I've never tried. Let's try to get him on.
See what this man's got to say.
Yeah. Like I said, we've had so many people ask and try to come on three-way, and I honestly don't even know what it looks like. I don't know if they busted. I don't know if they can or if they're gonna boot you off the screen. I don't know. But either way, like I said, if he joins, that'd be cool. Yeah, like I said, I don't know. You guys got to understand here. We did play college. We did play high school ball with George Kittle. He's a friend of ours, and it's not every day we get him interacting with the show. So if we got a chance to get him to join on, got to give that man his just due. But speaking of giving just due, man, Sean Soriano, like I said, in round one came out looking great. I don't know. You had any thoughts about round one?
Man, I thought that Soriano looked great. I know he took it on a little late notice. So for him, it was, I think his game plan was like, just balls to the wall, like get this damage done, try and get ahead in this fight overall and get a victory. But, I mean, that is how pretty much the second round was going to go too. I feel like I scored the first to well, I don't know. I think Soriano might have taken the round at the end.
Yeah. I gave it to Soriano. I don't feel bad about giving it, but it was a close round, back and forth round. Also, what's up with this B squad refs we had last night? I guess I didn't know we were in Texas.
I'm so glad you noticed, dude. Mergliot, it is. It's exactly why the Texas Commission picks local refs.
Yeah. And then, but Sean Soriano, was it Soriano had to call his own eye poke, which gets real dicey. Like,
bro, the mouthpiece we'll get to later.
Oh my God, that drove me nuts. Yeah, no,
it was all so bad. As far as like officiating a sport, it was unacceptable.
It was amateur hour for sure. Yeah, just the lack of awareness and the lack of control, like, just was on full display. And yeah, because I mean, you can't have guys calling their own eye pokes, because there's going to be guys that don't get poked and call it, and then there's going to be. But it's not a sound, efficient method to have fighters calling their own eye pokes, and that's exactly what we saw, because he was going to let it ride. Soriano literally grabbed his eye and turned his back, and then the ref paused it. So it's like, I don't know. I didn't like that at all. It was trash. But yeah, round two, they come out guns a-blazing again, just engaging very similar to round one, end up in a scramble. And really, Yagos just pulls a Darce choke out of his ass. Like, not really. Soriano kind of like got himself into that bad position, but yeah, round two, just this crazy scramble leads to a Yagos Darce choke. Like I said, I had him losing round one, so that comeback theme was the theme of the night.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and honestly, a lot of people in this card, even for some losers, which of course I keep saying we'll get to because we will. A lot of people were like getting stronger, even though they might have lost the first and second. A lot of people were able to come back and take third rounds, which really impressed me.
Yeah. We didn't see really any quit last night. You know, we saw just people
not even in
game fighters. Yeah, no, down to compete to a bitter
Tony, not even in Tony. Both those guys, like, that literally could have got medical DQs. Well, one obviously did, but like,
yeah. Well, I think crazy. Tony calls that, a Saturday night. That's just what Tony does.
Yeah, that's just a day in the office.
His weekly hyperextension.
But not to. So a Darce choke for Giagos.
And he gets the performance of the night, the chunky 75K performance of the night, which I thought was interesting, because that bonus could have gone to a lot of people.
100%. There were a lot of finishes last night.
Yeah.
I didn't know if that was the one for me.
I guess the comeback factor is, like, I had him losing one. Like, if you had him winning one, I guess it was like less impressive. But like, if you had him coming back and just that fight was chaotic and hectic and both men were eating shots and could have gone either way, and he cinches up that Darce choke like seemingly kind of out of nowhere, like, I feel you. We'll talk to maybe some ones later in the card being more worthy. But you know what? Fuck it. Y'all just got it. He got the nice submission victory, performance of the night victory over Sean Soriano, and we'll keep it pushing. As like I said, I want to be able to spend plenty of time on these big fights later in the card. Next up, we got Kevin Aguilar, and you'll have to correct me if these odds are wrong. That fucking pay-per-view strip at the bottom of the screen was driving.
It was fucking ridiculous. It was one of the worst overlays I've ever seen. Yeah, it took him an hour.
It was bullshit. Yeah, the truck fucked up on that one, because you could not see the money line. You couldn't see, like, the gyms they were fighting out of, like, all the little information before the fight.
And for us, that's important.
It is important, especially for our notes. But so I ended up going to best fight odds and getting the William Hill ones. These may be $5 or $10 off, but whatever, the best I could. Kevin Aguilar had him at plus 100. Tucker Lutz minus 125. So essentially a pickup. Tucker Lutz.
I found him at minus 120 and plus 105. So about the same.
Yeah, for sure. And then Tucker Lutz, interesting story. He's 11-1. He has 2 Dana White Contender Series wins and still never got his debut until tonight. So it's not often I find myself rooting for like a Contender Series guy, but that guy put in paid his due. That guy, like, he had 2 wins and still didn't get the call. He deserved it. Like, you don't hear me say those words that often, that, the Contender Series guy, like, had to wait longer than he should have. So, good on him. And Kevin Aguilar was a Texas boy, so he had all the local support. They were fucking with him hard.
Houston boys had trouble, or Texas guys had trouble last night.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe added pressure, maybe in their head a little bit. Who knows? Maybe little distractions, people asking for tickets. Who knows? You always think that stuff sounds trivial, and then, like, you'll hear professional athletes talk about podcasts or to go on podcasts and tell their story about, home games can be a little distracting. And you got you got wives and aunts and tickets and uncles and all.
For some guys, I mean, it's like if you think about Aaron Hernandez, man, he was bad in Florida, but he was even worse when he was in Boston because he was at his home city where he was already bad beforehand.
Man, I can honestly relate to that, bro. Like, when I left Oklahoma, like, I can say, I don't know if the statute of limitations up. Like, I was on the wrong side of the law, man. Like, I was living life on that other side, and man, like, it just, who knows what would have happened if I would have stayed in my hometown. You know what I mean? So I totally feel that. It can definitely have some distractions. But speaking of distractions, I think I'm just pretty distracted enough. They're fighting at featherweight. Round one. I had a very close 10-9 Lutz. The late takedown kind of stole the round for me. Up until then, I had it razor thin. I really was having a hard time scoring it, but that late takedown was enough for me to give it 10-9 Lutz.
Yep, I agree with that. Well, I mean, it was 3 minutes in, and then he controlled him for maybe a minute. Was that about right?
Yeah, I think it was like the last minute. Yeah, about the 4 minute mark, he got the takedown and controlled it the rest of the round.
And he was throwing pretty nice combos. I thought on the feet it was 50-50. So for me, the takedown was definitely enough to take it.
Yeah, and that left hook was there all day, and it essentially proved to be a factor later into the fight. Round two, I also had Lutz. He had multiple takedowns. The timing was gorgeous on those takedowns. Took him down clean. There wasn't like a long clunky chain wrestling takedown. They were clean shots. Took him down almost like a tackle. And then he was just the better fighter on the ground and the feet in round two. I thought round two was Lutz's best round of the fight.
I thought round two was clearly cut to Lutz more so than any, because I thought round one was pretty close, honestly, But round two, I thought was like. Round two was like, this is Tucker Lutz's round, which sick name. That just rolls off the tongue.
Fighter name too. Like a guy named Lutz can take a punch to the jaw for sure.
I feel like Tucker Lutz Malt Liquor is just like a good brand for that guy, But round three, Aguilar's corner must have been doing a good job, man, because he came out on fire, smoking hot.
Yes,
and was really trying to get a finish and win the fight.
Exactly. And DC brought it up, I believe, during this fight that, how often do we see guys, down 2 rounds to nothing and they're in either survival mode or don't get finished mode, or they're not really trying to win the fight. Aguilar, we say it all the time, this guy needs a finish, but how often does a guy actually go for a finish? Less often than than not. I just respected the hell out of Aguilar. He knew he needed the finish and he full out went for the finish. He didn't get it, and it kind of proved to be a too little, too late thing. And I thought he was the fresher fighter in round three. So I think we both gave that round 10-9 Aguilar round three. So we both scored it the same as two judges, 29-28 for Lutz. One judge gave it 30-27 Lutz, which that would be more foreshadowing of some of just the inconceivable judging. There's no way you can give round three to Lutz, man. I thought Lutz won the fight all day, but not round three.
This hurts me to say it because I fucking love Texas. We can't have fight cards there until they get real judges and real refs.
It was noticeable,
their commission's putting bullshit in to judge fights. No offense. Actually, all offense to those judges. Whoever was scoring that.
We criticize Vegas from time to time, but this one was just I feel like our standard is low for judging and reffing. We already know there's going to be some blown ones, so it's not like we're not expecting perfection. We just aren't expecting what are we even doing here?
Catastrophe. We're not expecting a catastrophe.
Yeah, exactly.
And even Joe and DC and John Anik started mentioning that they didn't know how rounds could be scored.
They were going
because
hard.
They deserve to.
If they were calling an NBA game, they would have got fined for criticizing the rest of that.
Honestly, though, DC out of anyone gets the right to say whatever he wants because he's been in the octagon and he's had to go to judges' cards in ultra close fights like John Jones and Alexander Gustafsson. So with those judges, if that's the judge he's getting, he doesn't know what the fuck is happening.
Well, and I was reading on Twitter and social media comments and stuff, and Joe's been getting a lot of hate lately. Joe thinks he knows everything. People forget, Joe's literally been in the realm of martial arts for 40 years? I mean, he was taking Taekwondo, I think, as a young child, and he's in his 50s. He's been in martial arts for 40 years. He does essentially know what he's talking about. What does the comment say?
Man, that's my guy Braden. Shout out to Braden. He got a little viral love in the bathroom fight at Logie's. He was one of the victors. But which shout out to him as well. DA did not press any charges, so I guess we can talk about it. I don't know. Didn't deserve to anyway after you hear the whole story. So, but that's neither here nor there. He's just agreeing with us that the refs, man, like Texas is always throwing out some bullshit. He actually runs a gym down in Norman with his dad called Coliseum MMA. So for anyone that's watching, if you're local and you want a place to work out, definitely stop by. He's the wrestling coach. Dude's sick.
Hey, I'll just put it this way. If you got jail time for beating up white dudes on campus corner, man, I wouldn't be seeing the light of day. But yeah, no, man, thanks for tuning in, bro. I really appreciate you. I'm glad that you're not facing any legal repercussions. Sometimes somebody needs them old polish put on them. And, but yeah.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, Tucker Lutz gets the unanimous decision victory. I thought, like I said, it's not, no hills need to be rolled out. The right man won, but that 30-27 guy can go fuck himself. And we'll keep it pushing because next we got Gina Mazzani, the biggest money line on the card, a -210 favorite, fighting Priscilla Cachoeira.
Yeah.
Plus 175 underdog, fighting that flyweight. I believe Cachoeira took the fight on like 3 days' notice. It was pretty last-minute replacement. Literally before the card started, on the little Google, like if you Google UFC events, it'll just pull up like a little thing without you actually having to click on a link. And on that one, there was literally a question mark picture. Like, you know, you can like unlock characters on like Mortal Kombat on like a question mark until you unlock them. Like it had like Gina Mazzani versus question marks. Like I was like, is this fight scrapped? Like, is it this shit? But no, so she was fighting Priscilla Cachoeira, and she was fighting at flyweight. And man,
Zombie Girl's a tight nickname for Cachoeira.
Yeah, man, and she's tough as nails, too. You can see how she earns the nickname. And once again, this was the theme of the night, the comeback story. At least that's how I saw it, because I thought round one, Mazzani looked great. She had multiple takedowns. She had grapple control. She was very active with her ground and pound. And it looked like, especially considering the fact that you knew this was the biggest money line on the card, like after round one, you just assumed that it probably wasn't going to be the most competitive fight in the world. At least I did. And, boy, was I wrong.
Yeah, I mean, Mazzani got that takedown 45 seconds in and then got another one after about 90 more seconds.
Seemed
it was
to
just
be in no danger.
I mean,
yeah. She seemed to be, like, have everything firmly in control, which life comes at you fast.
But she was using a ton of effort, apparently, to get to that point. Because in the second round, Cachoeira is ready to go. Her corner's telling her, hey, you lost the round, which great corner work on her corner as well. Shout out to them.
Be honest.
Yeah, telling her, you lost the round, you got to come out. She's tired. Like, put the pressure on her, keep your distance, and strike with her. And that's exactly what she did. Defended the takedown super well, and then eventually just ended up piecing her out.
Yeah, no, it was so cool. It was almost like you see like in a movie or like we talk about sometimes like momentum in sports. Like you could literally see like the momentum bar, like the pendulum quite literally swinging in real time. 100%. Because it took the whole round. It wasn't like she came out and pieced her at the start of the round like happened in some fights.
I think she finished her with, what, 8 seconds to go or something?
Yeah, like 9 seconds I think is what it went down as on paper. And it took the whole round, like around like 2 minutes remaining in the round, Mazzani was getting pieced up, but they weren't like big, powerful shots. Like they weren't timed counters. They were just
nice
like an
combos.
Accumulation. They were accumulating as Mazzani's gas tank was going down. So it was like a converse relationship. And so like Mazzani's gas tank was going down, the shots were piling up. But it was like, is she going to have time? I was like, is she going to get a finish? Like, I think like the last like 45 seconds of the fight, I literally just ended up screaming, is she going to get the finish? Is she going to get the finish? And then it obviously built to the crescendo. She got the finish, and I lost my mind. It was a great, highly entertaining fight, underrated fight. It kind of gets lost in the story of last night, all the big fights on last night's card, which is why I love the way we do our podcast. We give each fight, the time they deserve. And because this fight is going to get lost to history, and nobody's going to think back on this card and think about this fight. But I enjoyed the fuck out of it in the moment.
Yeah. And honestly, like, Dauber way up on Cachoeira coming out of this because like she showed like, cool, beat me in the first round. Like, I'm going to come harder, stronger, better in the second round.
Yeah, and she showed a hell of a gas tank, hell of like mental fortitude, and just relentless pressure and mental toughness. Before we move on though, I do want to ask you because they before Cachoeira started piecing her up on the feet, I think it was about halfway through round 2. There was what I deemed a fairly active grappling engagement going on. And the Texas ref, I think it was the dude with the big mustache, he stood him up. And I thought it was a little premature. Joe and DC called it, I think, a little premature. I definitely wanted to get your thoughts on it because it directly impacted the end of the fight. Like, no credit taken away from Cachoeira. But if they don't get stood up there, I mean, are we like, does she get that finish?
I don't
probably
think
not.
Finish. No,
I don't think she gets the finish. She may go on to win the decision.
In the third, she probably gets the finish.
If Mazzani's gas tank was trending in the wrong direction for sure.
Right, like it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was an early stand-up for sure.
I thought it was an early
directly
stand-up.
impact the fight.
And
it was Mike Beltran.
It impacted the outcome.
Because honestly, I usually like Mike Beltran as a ref.
It's like, out of that Texas bunch, he's one of the better ones. I wasn't a fan of that just because, like, hey, maybe it's just how the fight ended, but, like, whenever I can draw the timeline back to a moment where the ref essentially caused the chain of events leading to the end of a fight, I don't like it. It doesn't, like, give me, like, the true, like, pure competition vibes. Like, hey, Cachoeira knocked her out. But I'm just saying, like, we both essentially agree, probably doesn't get the finish if the ref doesn't. What we also deem, I don't know if unnecessary the word, like maybe it was trending in that direction, but it was a little premature on the stand-up. I thought Mazzani was doing enough. It was like, we watched, like for example, just last week, that was like with Rogerio de Lima and Maurice Green. And he just laid on him in half guard for like 15 minutes straight, doing like half the activity that Mazzani was doing, in my opinion, to Cachoeira right there when they got stood up. Now, maybe that's on Las Vegas for, letting it go on that long. Maybe it's kind of a happy medium, but I do think that was a little premature for sure. And we can keep it pushing on that note. Priscilla Cachoeira cashes as plus 175 underdog, biggest underdog to cash last night, biggest underdog on the card last night. Which just shows you how greatly these matchups were and how fun of a card it was. So, yeah, let's keep it pushing to the prelims.
For sure. So, yeah, to kick off the prelims, we actually had a ranked fight in the women's flyweight. Number 12, Antonina Shevchenko, older sister of the Bullet, Valentina, was a minus 120 favorite against Andrea Lee, who's number 11 at plus 100. So,
11 versus 12. Yeah.
Rankings McGee, gotta love the fight. It is a good matchup as well, like actually stylistically. And what's crazy is I thought Andrea Lee might have been outstriking Antonina Shevchenko on the feet.
Andrea Lee looked great. No, I'll be real. I felt pretty good about Shevchenko coming into this one. And
me too.
I'm starting to question like just how the brain picks up on patterns. Like, I'm really wondering, like, is it possible to see the name Shevchenko on paper and not have your brain give it a couple little bonus points? Like, I'm being dead ass serious. Like, it's so hard not to factor it in.
Because when it's Valentina, it's right to do that. But when it's not her, you shouldn't do that. But it's so hard to separate that.
It's so hard. Like, I was like actively essentially having a conversation with my brain, like, don't overskew for Shevchenko. And I think I still ended up overskewing for Shevchenko. Like, I was selling Lee short. Like, I was so confident about Shevchenko before this. Like I said, I think my mind just played tricks on me. Like, I don't know. But yeah, we get to the actual fight. Fight at flyweight. Man, round one, I thought it was honestly pretty damn even on the feet. But then that last minute, Lee got the takedown and spent the whole last minute on top, and I thought it was enough to win the round. But it was a close fight. It wasn't the round one is probably closer than it'll be remembered as.
Yeah, no, I agree. And honestly, like, the Shevchenko sisters have underrated grappling game as well. So, like, when she got that takedown and, like, was able to pretty much be in complete control on top, I was pretty impressed. Like, I thought Andrea Lee, like, showed a lot of skill in, like, most facets of the fight.
You know what just surprised me last night? It wasn't so much the X's and O's. It was more the Jimmies and the Joes, as they say. The physicality of Lee. So much just stronger than Shevchenko, which just literally, like, pains my mouth to even say. Obviously different Shevchenko. But seriously, that's, like, the big factor. You got to think, like, especially Antonina's the older sister, like, there's probably not too many techniques that Valentina knows that Antonina doesn't know.
That's how I look at it as well. They train together.
They know the same, like, it's essentially the same style. It's just Valentina is so much more just physically stronger, so much just solid, just physically just denser, just more athletic, more explosive, more stronger.
I think mentally she's different too.
Yeah,
I think she's more of a savage. Yeah.
More of a savage. Yeah, for sure, man. For sure. Because I just, like, I don't know, Chael talks about that all the time. Like, oh, really? Like this black belt knows a submission that the other black belt doesn't know. No, that doesn't happen. Like, they both know the same moves, but it's just like, they're built different, right? Like that phrase gets probably overused in 2021, like trying to sound cool Gen Z talk, but like just built different. Shevchenko, like, quite literally built different than her own, like, a person she shares DNA with. Like I know we've talked more about Valentina than the actual fight, but it's so hard not to. It's so hard not to. Lee looked great in round one, close round one, 10-9 Lee. I think we both agree. And then round two, man, describe this, what was it, like a mounted triangle armbar? It was a very unique sub.
So she got the mounted triangle, and then I was really surprised because then she rolled to her back and held her in the triangle for like 3 minutes.
Like 3 straight minutes. It was bizarre.
Putting a lot of damage on her, no doubt, but...
Yeah, landing elbows. It was like she was attacking triangle, elbows, and the arm, like, all simultaneously.
But she also wasn't, like, pulling the head down to finish off the triangle, so I was really confused. And I think maybe she was worried that if she tried to go for pulling the head, that she might let her head slip out.
Yeah, kind of position over submission type of thinking.
Yeah, and she did keep getting out to the side at, like, an angle that really does put more pressure on the head and neck and really, like, puts the squeeze tighter, right? But Shevchenko, I don't know if, like, she just doesn't have, like, a neck, like if she has, like, a really thin neck and arm. And
after the fight, Lee said, I think she has gills. After the fight, Lee said, I think she has gills. That was funny.
It was crazy.
I thought that was a funny little one-liner Lee said in her cowboy hat. But yeah, man, she kept her. She pretty much kept her in the triangle. Was it 3+ minutes, getting close to 4 minutes? And Cormier was saying Lee's legs were going to gas. And I think Lee agreed with that. Like, Lee even said in the post-fight that I think she was coming up on like 10 seconds left in the round, and she was running out of time. And she was like, okay, I got to go for this other finish. And that's when she attacked the arm more seriously.
What was cool is I think she went omoplata and then into the armbar, if I recall correctly. Like, swung her legs up, got the arm pinned backwards, and then got it straightened back out after she rotated her hips back underneath. It was nice.
Yeah. And like I said, Lee was well on her way to a 10-8 round, even if she didn't get the finish, because, I mean, that was just a dominant position. But it would have been interesting to see if she would have survived the round, how Lee's legs would have looked in round 3. You know, after 4 minutes of squeezing the straight hamstring. Yeah,
she'd have been done.
You know, woulda, coulda, shoulda. You know, Andrea Lee gets the submission victory over Antonina Shevchenko. So she was 11. She beats 12. You know, cashes the +100 underdog, pretty much a pick 'em. Andrea Lee looked great. Let me see here. Andrea Lee, Alexa Grasso's above her. Somehow Roxanne Modafferi's still above her. Jessica I's above her. Araujo's above her.
I wouldn't mind seeing Araujo just because, I mean, we'll get to it, but it would make sense that they both fought on the same night.
For sure, man, for sure. But yeah, we'll keep it pushing because we already alluded to this next fight earlier. Just like I said, and really nobody, I don't think anybody saw it playing out like this. But, you know, Jordan Wright does have the history of quick finishes. Would say spoiler alert, but that's really all there is to break down. But yeah, let's go ahead and introduce this one.
Yeah, so Jordan, and this one's the pick 'em we mentioned earlier, but it's Jordan Wright versus Jamie Pickett, both at -110. So Vegas is making all the money on this fight.
Yeah, and we always say pretty much a pick 'em. Like, no, this is an actual pick 'em.
Yeah, and for anyone that's wondering how they can both be -110, that's how Vegas makes money.
Yep, they're not going to.
That's literally how. Like, they'll make $10 off every 110 bet, essentially.
Yeah,
that's how that's going to work. So, it was only took 1 minute. 1 minute,
very
and
fast.
It was just a wild flurry of Jordan Wright going ham with knees, hooks, straight punches, and Jamie Pickett's honestly super tough.
Well, and then don't forget how the kind of sequence started off. So Pickett went for a shot. It wasn't the most cleanly timed shot, and it wasn't the best executed shot, and he ended up essentially running right up against the fence, and he had his head kind of down and to the side, and then while his back against the fence, and and Pickett's head down here, and Wright starts dropping elbows.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
They were just enough to the side of the head, and they were just, I guess, not 12-6 enough that when he first started throwing them, I'm like,
the first one was like, I thought the first one was like back of the head, 12-6. To be quite honest,
that's what I thought.
But then he leaned over and started like pulling them sideways. Which, by the way, that's the exact same motion. UFC. Can we make 12-6 legal?
Safer? Yeah,
I don't understand.
Yeah, I feel you. It's not like I'm even like a big 12-6 guy, but it was like when I first watched it, I was like, because it's almost like my first thoughts while watching this happen, I was like, well, if this was legal, wouldn't everybody just do this when somebody shot on them? Like you know what I'm saying? Like,
I mean, if you're able to get pinned up on the cage, like obviously Jamie Pickett was pretty deep in on a double leg, so if you're in the middle of the octagon, you're going to get finished and taken down right there. Most guys. But to get pinned up on the cage and get your base back underneath you, that's a reasonable defense because Jamie Pickett was trying to just lock his hands. He wasn't even trying to control an arm or do anything like that. So Jordan Wright has both of his arms and his upper body free. Why not go for that?
Good point. Yeah, that's why I guess also I like underhooks and all that. So important to control. And but now, so when Jordan Wright was dropping these elbows, they looked pretty hard, but they were landing like kind of to the side of the head. And we see that kind of stuff happen all the time. It doesn't usually end a fight, but then you saw Pickett's leg start to wobble, and he fell to his knees. And then from there, it was just a good old fashioned finish. Jordan Wright threw some more punches, some elbows, and just finished him off. But yeah, it was a unique finish. For usually 1 minute finishes don't go down like that. Usually it's a clean shot. Usually it's a clean shot to the button that puts you down at the 1 minute of the first round mark. It's not too often that you get like this weird, it was kind of a weird.
He just tagged him with like 40 strikes in a minute. You know what I mean? Between all the elbows and punches.
Yeah, man, and Jordan Wright gets the win. He's only got, I think, one loss, right? Or is it one loss and one no contest?
Yeah, no, he just lost his last fight out. He fought another guy that's just a monster.
But fighting that middleweight, you can't really say Cassius. They were both a pick 'em. But yeah, Jordan Wright is the closest money line on the card is the shortest fight on the card. Just so hard to predict UFC, man. It's so hard.
Oh, he got starched by Joaquin Buckley his last fight out. That's who he got just absolutely knocked the fuck out by.
Yeah, you're right.
Which the UFC loves to build up Buckley.
Yeah, they do. I think they're kind of cooling on that a little bit. I think they kind of see his.
Well, they got their money off the knockout, and now they're looking for like the next biggest knockout.
Yeah, for sure, man. But all right, so this next fight is one I want to get to because we do got to spend a little time on it because I think this is the fight that most people have a bone to pick with the judging.
We're rolling on a hill and firing someone over this fight.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, all right, we'll talk about rolling hills out, but I feel you. So Lando Venata plus 100 versus Mike Grundy minus 120. Like literally, just these money lines are just so raised back to back to back. And then fighting at featherweight. And man, round one was a close round, and it was a weird round to score. I will say this, and this isn't me building in any excuses. I legit, and this is what I mean by it. So you don't get points for takedown defense, right? And you also really you're not supposed to get.
I give a little credit for defending takedowns.
For sure, and like you're also not really supposed to get credit for taking somebody down and then letting them immediately back up. And
also true.
So that's essentially all we had to work with in this round. I mean, there was a few exchanges, but for the most part, it was a round full of Grundy trying to take down Venata and either failing or Venata getting up as soon as he takes him down. So how do you score that? Because on paper, Grundy got 2 takedowns and Venata didn't do a whole lot, at least not a whole lot that shows up on paper. I don't like to do this, and it seems like lazy analysis. But every once in a while, it's really my only explanation. I had round 1, 10-9 Venata, and I pretty much just wrote eye test. Like Grundy he was 2 for 9 on his takedowns, and he did absolutely nothing with those takedowns, even though he got 2. So I went 10-9 Venata, but like I don't really have like a numbers argument. Like if I had to prove it in the court of law, it'd be really hard.
So, in Okay, I'm pretty sure it was in the first round whenever Grundy cracked him with that right hand.
Yeah, and
like
also
huge right.
Grundy was sprinkling in these massive rights, yes.
Now, he threw a lot less volume, but he would hit way bigger shots whenever he would hit. So it was kind of a weird striking fight, too, as the fight went on, as far as how you scored, I guess. But I scored the first round to Grundy. Now, granted, I'm cool with it if you score it to the Venata. I just thought that the activity of the takedowns mixed in with the damage of his striking was enough to give him the first round.
Yeah, and like I don't really have a problem with that either because, like I said, while trying to make an argument for my Venata pick, I said it's kind of lazy. I just had to write eye test. Like I just thought he looked and like I just thought he did better. Like I said, I mean, just stuffing the takedown defense was some of the best takedown defense I've seen in a while. Like it was
nasty. His ability to like whenever I'm just forgetting his name already. Whenever Grundy would get in on a single leg, man, Venata was so good at spinning and like literally turning,
and pushing him down. Like how DC was saying, they weren't wearing wrestling shoes, so you can just push him down the bottom.
Yeah, literally off the foot. Yeah,
he was great at that. Turning around and literally high stepping out of it. It was great. And then Venata was also mixing in way more versatile strikes. Leg kicks, body kicks.
But his striking is electric. Like, he's one of those dudes that throws, like, very, very cool patterns.
Grundy was just, like, only throwing loaded up overhand rights that were, like, essentially missing, but when they did land, were very impactful. So just so hard to score. So hard. And it's so subjective. So that's where, like I said, I'm not trying to build in an excuse, but round one, we disagree, and it was really, really weird to score. Now, the rest of the fight, in my opinion, not so much. Round two, I thought was great round for Venata. You know, his technical striking, his volume. I thought he looked great. I had round two, 10-9 Venata.
I 100% had round two, 10-9 to Venata. I mean, his ability to defend takedowns almost got better in round two. Yeah, no, and then his striking was better as well.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like everything, he built upon everything that he was doing well in round one, even though round one wasn't a dominant round. He built upon that. It was like he leaned into those things that were working well for him, which I love to see fighters do. He did what was working, which seems very obvious, but not all fighters always do what's working, you know. And how often do we see a fighter do something that's working and then they kind of get away from it in the third, or you know? So I really liked how he executed that. And then round three, I thought once again another great round for Venata. I didn't really find it too hard to judge. 10-9 Venata. He was very elusive as he was the whole fight, and he just quite simply was piecing him up. Just I thought he was just piecing him up.
So I had it 29-28 to Venata because I also gave the third round to Venata. He got the slam takedown on Grundy, like was beating him up. Like it was definitely another round to Venata, right?
Yeah, and then at the end of the fight, by the end of the fight, Grundy was 3 for 20 on takedowns. And those three he did nothing with.
And he got 2 of them in the first round. That's the only reason I even gave him the first round. You know what I mean?
Fact.
So beyond that, like, you had it 30-27 Venata. I had it 29-28 Grundy. A judge agreed with you. A judge agreed with me.
No, you had it 29-28 Venata.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Oh, yeah, that's what I meant to say. Yes, correct. So
Grundy came out of your mouth. I knew what you meant. I just wanted to correct it for the listeners.
Right. So one judge who's a psychopath, he's not a judge, he's just a psychopath, scored it 30-27 for Grundy.
Or he may be physically or mentally disabled. Like, I don't know if he's qualified. Like,
how could you score 2 or 3 for Grundy?
There's no way. You have
an argument.
I'll build the very weak case that if you're a guy who's just all about just like the most impactful strikes of the round, like if you were to isolate a highlight of the hardest hits of every round, it would probably be a highlight tape full of Grundy. You know what I'm saying? Now, do I think that's a good way or a correct way to score a fight? No, that's a way too simplistic of a view to look at it, as in your microscope is way too zoomed in and you're not viewing the whole scope of the fight, if that's all you're looking out for. Like I said, I'm just playing devil's advocate here because I like to do that. Like, even in my personal life, if I think somebody's like so far out of line that I can't even conceive where they're coming from, I'll try to do like a mental exercise of like really trying to like understand where they're coming from. And that's all I'm doing here. Like if you were watching the fight only looking for like stiff overhand rights, then Grundy's your guy. But that's
but that's at low volume.
In low volume. and getting and shitty takedowns. Yeah, another very weak argument is I guess you can turn those takedown attempts into like ring control if you like try hard enough to convince yourself,
or if you just don't credit takedown defense. If you feel like that's not any action that you're like you're saying ring control.
Yeah,
that's the wackest assessment I've ever heard of.
I did find myself struggling with it because we've had the conversation on here. Like, you can't give a guy a round for a good takedown defense. Like, you can't win a round for takedown defense, or like you're at least not supposed. But
you can't lose a round for good. You can't lose a round for good takedown defense.
But you can lose a round for getting taken down.
But if your takedown defense is really good, then you won't get taken down.
Yeah, no, I feel you, but I'm just like I said, I had it. Hell, I had it 30-27 Venata. So like I'm not.
I know. I'm just saying, like, we just got to put this one judge up on the wood.
Oh yeah.
Man.
Like at the end of the day, I'm glad the right man won. If Grundy somehow would have got a split decision, that would have been a travesty. Yeah, Rogan, DC, Anik were all completely appalled and shitting on this judge, well deservedly. So like that's just completely out of line to get it that wrong. Like I said, but yeah, we'll keep it pushing because like I said, I wanted to. Also important to note, it was Venata's first time fighting at featherweight.
Featherweight. Yeah.
Former lightweight, so I just kind of didn't want to let that kind of slip through the cracks. But yeah, Venata looked great, man.
He's going to be good,
especially at featherweight. Man. Yeah, he's so elusive. Like that style's good. Like featherweights are kind of elusive. I think it's going to work out. I think it's going to do good for him. But yeah, Venata gets the win. Kaiser is a +100 underdog. That one judge can once again go fuck himself. Was it the same guy? That's what I don't know. And I don't know if you wrote this down or not, bro. Was that 30-27 guy the same guy from the is there another one? Am I tripping? No, I guess not.
Oh yeah, well the one the other fight that we were talking about was Tucker or was it not Tucker Lutz? Tucker Lutz, yeah. He gave him that one round.
That's right.
Like, there's no way.
Like I have to.
The third round.
Guy. If it was that same guy, like seriously, we can't have it again. Like I don't like it's so out of line. But all right, we'll keep it pushing because this next fight, Jacare Souza, legend, But at this point, he's fighting on prelims now, which I don't know. That was a pretty big fall, but he had other losses before Kevin Holland. Right here, I'm going to go to his tapology.
Oh yeah. I want to say he's on like a 3 or 4 fight loss streak. I believe he lost to Hermanson.
Because he was like he was ranked like 8th when Kevin Holland fought him, and then now he's unranked and on the prelims.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's tough for Jacare. He's getting old, man. And he also just recently lost a grappling competition as well. Which
doesn't happen to Jacare.
Right, which kind of just shows you he is on the downward slope of his career, which
he is.
I mean, it sucks for him, man, but this might be the last time we ever see him.
Yeah, man. All right, so yeah, because before, all right, so he lost to Hermanson in 2019. He lost to Blachowicz in 2019. Then he lost to Kevin Holland, and man, that Kevin Holland loss is aging worse with time. You know what I'm saying?
Getting KO'd like that is never good either, though.
Yeah, true. But yeah, all right. So he was fighting Andre Muniz. Let's not escape the fact that he's fighting Andre Muniz, +105 underdog, fighting at middleweight. And also, I want to shout out one of my favorite Buffer jackets last night. And that's saying something.
Yeah.
He always brings the heat. One of my personal favorites.
The swirls and shit. It was so sick.
I feel like he was on fire last night. He was feeling the crowd. He's always good, but I thought last night was a stellar.
For anyone that, I guess I'll shout this guy. He needs no shout at all. But David August is who makes all the UFC brasses suits and Bruce Buffer suits.
Oh yeah, no, that's legit for sure. Such a fire suit, but yeah, all right. So Jacare Souza, man,
he looked good to start. He looked good to start. Right? I mean, -125 versus Andre Muniz, who's +105. They're the middleweights, right? But I mean, I thought he looked good. He got the takedown early. Muniz was able to get back up and then get a takedown of his own. But, for Jacare, it's not that he looked terrible. It's that he needs to be smarter. and Braden actually said this in the comments too, that I just think he needs to like either tap sooner or hang it up, man. Because like when you put yourself in that position, what's Andre Muniz supposed to do but finish you?
Yeah, but maybe he really is the type of guy who wants to go out on his shield, you know? Like maybe and it sucks, but maybe that is what like kind of gives him the wake-up call that, you know? Like some people, probably myself included, learn shit the hard way, you know? Like
So do you want to get into what we're alluding to?
Yeah. So Andre Muniz, he gets Souza in the armbar, which I don't know if Souza just had so much confidence in his jiu-jitsu that he wasn't going to tap to an armbar, or if it was just like a balls and heart thing, or if it was a go out on my shield thing. I really don't know which one of those, you know, circles or boxes he checked, but he made one of those choices, and I do believe it was a conscious decision, which is gangster as fuck.
He was cool the whole way through it. Like, granted, he might have been in shock. I don't know.
But we're gonna have to start making Jacare the type of dude to memes the way we do about Tony Ferguson, because
that was insanity. It was insanity. He snapped his arm at the bicep.
He either made the decision like, you know, like B, like I can still maneuver a way out of this because I'm as high level at BJJ as it gets, or he just like, you know, he just decided like, hey, maybe worst case scenario hyperextension, I can gangster through it. Or if he just said, fuck it, this is how I'm going out. I don't know exactly. Only maybe he'll reveal that to us one day. But until then, all we can do is speculate. But the arm snapped, and it didn't snap down here. At first, I thought it snapped down here. Then I thought it snapped maybe at like the elbow hyperextension.
At the bow, which is actually it's actually great where it did break for him. Easier to heal that bone than
but it broke. But it broke up here, the big bone, right?
Right. Humerus, I do believe it is.
And it snapped. It sounded like a home run being hit. That's the exact
the audible noise of shout out to Kenny. We do have matching shirts. The audible noise of that arm snapping.
So I'll say this: the noise was way worse than the visual, because it was all kind of wrapped up. Like it wasn't like the Weidman where you was just all out for God and everybody to see. Like it was kind of, they were all kind of tangled up. You know, you didn't get it. Thankfully, you didn't get. But honestly, they say when they show the reverse angle, you can see it like snap. And it's like, you can. I'm just saying. I'm glad it wasn't like the clearest shot ever. I'm not complaining. Trust me. But I was about to say like a.
Did you or Anik
pictures worth 1,000 words? What's that noise worth? Because I think I'll take watching it on mute over hearing that sound, bro.
100%. Because you know what I did?
Was horrible.
It's funny you say that. Whenever they did the replay and Rogan was like, here, we're just going to listen to it. I actually covered my face and just listened. It's tough, dude. It's tough.
Like, I can hear it. Like, it's like...
I can still hear it. Like, like it sounds like wood snapping. Like
the memes with, like, the Vietnam helicopters, like, in the background. Like, that's
dude.
It sounds like a home run being hit.
Yeah, it literally sounds just like that.
Like
whenever you just like, just like a crack. It's man.
It was so really bad. But Andre Muniz cashes like that's honestly, we were saying earlier, like if Yagos deserved the performance of the night bonus, I think I would have rather given it to that submission than the Darce choke. Like subbing Jacare and snapping his arm.
Yeah,
I think that's a little more deserving than catching Sean Soriano in a Darce. Like I don't know.
I think there were a lot of people that were deserving of performance bonuses last night, and maybe the Duffels were flowing.
Maybe the Duffels were, or Dana was like, "Fuck your Duffel, your Duffel or that extra $25K."
Yeah, I was gonna say he was like, "Okay, well, here's the deal. None of you guys are getting back end bonuses, and they're just going to be the 4 bonuses tonight." And they're like, "Fuck, we got to fight way harder."
Thanks a lot, Tony. But
like, fuck you, Tony.
But man, okay, and then also just a little pretense for the viewers. I won't spend too much time on this. Harrison's already heard this story, but anybody that follows me on social media has pretty much heard this story already. But Friday, I was at the skate park, and I watched a kid. He was a good skater. He was a little guy though. He was 11, but he only looked like he was like 8 or 9 years old. He was a little guy, and he was eating Takis, and I thought it was stupid. I almost said something to him, but I was like, I'm going to mind my own business. I don't want to be like that old guy, like telling kids what to do at the skate park. But he was skating around while eating a bag of Takis. Like, skating like ramps and shit, like while eating Takis, like simultaneously, like essentially
Hey,
kind of like
sounds
texting and driving, right?
Yeah, that sounds like the dumbest thing you could do.
Right? And me and my wife both had a bad feeling about it, but we're like, we're not going to be those people. And we hear him go down. Not that rare. People fall at the skate park all the time. But he's like, help, I broke my arm. And my natural reaction was like, oh, yeah, right. You're all right, buddy. Like, this is being dramatic. I look over, and, like, as I'm going to say, like, oh, no, you're okay, I'm literally, like, my jaw drops, and I'm like, oh, no, that's broken, all right. And, dude, literally his arm was a Z, bro. A Z, like from the wrist to here. Like, there was, like, a couple of, like, 45-degree angles, bro. Like, it was all the way. Like,
was he, like, skating ramps? Like, what? How did that happen? Where was he at in the park?
Little thing. It was, like, a little bank ramp, like, not even no transition, so no curve on the ramp, just, like, a flat bank.
Oh.
And he went up, and then he goes back fakey, which is, like, backwards, so he didn't turn. Just, like, honestly, something simple. Nina does it at the skate park. Like, one of the simplest things. Like, he was a good skater, too. He was a better skater than me. Like, it wasn't that he was trying anything crazy or that he was trying – like, he literally did the simplest thing ever. Like, I could do it blindfolded, like, or maybe not. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? But, like, something just shows you if your attention's not fully dedicated to something. If you're, like, kind of – like I said, it reminded me of texting and driving. Like, that kid was a good skater. He could do that thing 100 times out of 100 times what he was doing, but he just took his eye off the ball.
Does he ever eat Takis again?
I hope. Oh, dude, that's crazy. So, bro, I don't know if it was sweat or tears or what, but the Taki dust on his fingers had like turned into like a red liquid, and I thought it was a compound. I was like, "Where's that blood coming from?" And he was like, through his tears, he was like, "No, that's the Takis." And like, I had to laugh. Like, I needed it. Like, sometimes something fucked up happens, you just need to like break the tension with a laugh. I was like, oh my God, thank fuck that those were Taki dust mixed with like tears. And because I thought that like, I couldn't see the other side of his arm, bro. I thought the fucking bone was gonna be like poking.
Was out of the side. I couldn't let up close.
Yeah, me neither. And like, and it was one of those things. Like, I was looking around. I was like, "Fuck, where's the adults? Where's the adults?" And I was like, "Oh, I am the adult." Like, me and my wife are probably the oldest people at the skate park. And so like my wife calls 911. This other dude had his mom's number and called his mom or used his phone to call his mom. And dude, it was so fucked up, bro. Like, I know I'm being a little dramatic, but it reminded me of like the war movies whenever you're like the dude's like dying and the guy's like trying to comfort him, telling him like it'll be all right. Dude, his arm is just like a mangled fucking mess, and he's looking at me like a young kid, 11, looks like he's like 8, like a hairless 11, like a premature 11. And he was like.
You're called the paramedics?
In the eyes. Yeah, he did. But he was looking at me. He's like, I'm scared. I was like, fuck, dude, you're going to be okay, man. Like, I was just like, so I know not directly related to UFC fights, but when I watched Jacare's arm snap, not 48 hours later, I was like, can I get a break from this? Like, I'm cool on watching arm snaps. And, like, Weidman just happened, was that a week or two ago? Like,
and Crute.
Like, I'm cool. Like, I don't like if I wanted this, I'd go watch like old Scarred reruns or some shit. Like, dude,
right.
I'm like traumatized. Like, dude, I never drink rum, like hardly ever. Like, after watching that kid fuck his arm up, like, I literally went to the liquor store, bought like a small bottle of rum, and then like proceeded to like just black out. Like, bro,
got on your pirate shit.
I was shook, bro. I was shook. But like I said, I know it seems like irrelevant, but after what, like, it ties full circle with the Jacare too. So like, can I just not watch somebody snap their arms for a fucking couple of weeks at least? The dogs heard me knock on the table and started barking. Great, but all right, we can officially keep it pushing to the main card. But I know I went on a tangent, but
you sound like an ER trauma surgeon that's just like overworked. It's like, can I quit seeing people with arms snapped in half?
Seriously, bro, like Joe Rogan talks about all the time that he's like desensitized to violence. Like, I'm not yet. That shit is still affecting me, which I'm glad it is, I guess. But
Joe like loves that shit. It's gross. He's always like, let's see it again. And DC was even like, I'm not gonna watch it. And then they were like, let's hear the sound. And DC like literally takes his his headphones off, and Joe Rogan goes, DC's headphones are off. You won't even listen to it again. He's like making fun of him. Like, dude, it's not great, Joe. Like, it's not great.
Yeah, I definitely don't enjoy it for sure. Just those visceral noises and shit. But all right, let's keep it pushing because this next fight got fight of the night, and if it didn't, it would like this fight getting fight of the night was probably worth a couple of people getting fucked out of their bonuses because this was a heater.
Yeah, it would have been a travesty not to award these guys money.
And honestly, like who didn't know this was going to be fight of the night?
It was written all over it.
I kept seeing people say like, "Oh, Dariush Ferguson's going to be fight of the night," and I was like, "No, it's going to be Burgos Barbosa." That's not hindsight 2020 either. Like Burgos Barbosa had just heater written all over it. I mean, Barbosa is one of the most scary, violent strikers in UFC. Shane
Burgos is maybe the toughest man alive. Maybe.
Yeah, he got our Beefy Boys Prime Cuts Award for Chin of the Year, Beefy Boys original award we gave out. Chin of the Year, it went to Shane Burgos, right? We gave it to Shane Burgos. Yeah,
right.
The Josh Emmett fight.
He was trying to make he might be a repeat contender.
Yeah, he was. And we'll get into that. But so Burgos was the 9th ranked featherweight, coming in a -150 favorite. Edson Barbosa plus 125 underdog at number 13 ranked featherweight. So just these razor thin money lines. And goddamn, man, round 1 was a banger. And I thought Barbosa had a genius strategy. And it's a strategy he showed
the leg
before.
kicks were beautiful.
Yeah. Because, it's obviously if we noticed Burgos' chins, surely he did or his coaches did, whoever's breaking down film over there. And so what a great strategy. Oh, this guy has an iron chin. Okay, let's not make the chin a factor. Let's go after his legs. Like, let's see if his calves are as tough as his chin, which
but what's crazy
proved to be pretty damn tough too.
Yeah, he had iron shins too. Iron shins and chins is this guy.
He's built out of vibranium, man.
It's crazy, man. Like Edson Barbosa's shins were split before Burgos's were. And he was bleeding bad.
And I was probably ignorant, but I just don't remember seeing that deep of shin gouges before. It honestly looked like he was a skater. Any skater out there knows what I'm talking about. Skaters always get their shins wrecked. Like every skater out there,
in the shin, right?
Whack, and it's kind of a similar because it's not a slice; it's like an impact ripping the skin open. So it actually looks like very similar to that. But yeah, I was questioning, that's a deep gash. I was like, has there ever been a fight stopped due to a leg cut? I was like, no, that would be kind of absurd.
I don't think they would.
Yeah, and I was hoping they didn't, but I was like, because they was bleeding bad.
You know how I know they won't? You remember when Mark Hunt fought Alistair Overeem and he got kicked in the shin and it split it almost all the way down in the front?
But it was vertical.
Yes,
right?
but they still didn't. Yes, but they still didn't stop that shit. They said, fuck that.
That's some good precedent. I'm glad you brought up that example. That had slipped my mind for sure. But, all right, so Barbosa was landing the heaviest, fastest leg kick ever. And he wobbled Burgos
four
times in round 1. But like we said, I'll be real. If it was anybody else besides Burgos,
they would have been done.
Also, let's not act like Burgos wasn't returning fire. Burgos was cracking Barbosa back.
Some of the body shots he was landing were insane. His left-hand body shots were crazy. Although he was eating spinning back kicks to the body as well.
Oh, my God, those were nasty.
Which was also crazy.
Yes. All right, so let me ask you this, bro, because we both obviously we're fans of Burgos' chin, at least. Obviously him as a whole fighter. But I'm saying, so – did you kind of take those first round kind of wobbles with a grain of salt? Like if this was any other fighter, I'd be really concerned, but this is Burgos, and I'm kind of not as worried as I would be otherwise.
Bro, not even a little bit. That's literally 100% how I looked at it. No question. No question. Because I literally know
I was dying to ask you that question.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's almost like when you see Diaz with his eye cut, you're just like, oh, who cares? Right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You don't get overly concerned if Diaz's face is bleeding or Tony Ferguson's face bleeding. If it's somebody else, maybe you are worried about it. But with those guys,
here's the thing is when Diaz fought Conor the first and second time, especially the second time, we all knew Conor couldn't knock him out. He could hit him as hard as he wanted to and you weren't going to put him out. There's certain guys that have a zombie-like chin. Which actually we should get into because this fight's one of the weirdest things I've ever seen in my whole life.
Oh, and I actually have something for you. I have some good nuggets for after. We'll get to that. I know what you're talking about. But so round 1, did you have a 10-9 Barbosa? I had a 10-9 Barbosa.
I did.
It was a close round, though, a heater of a round. Burgos did some things, but yeah, he got wobbled 4 times.
Well, I thought Burgos was putting a lot of body work in too. So not a lot of. And
that left hook to the body was gorgeous. It was gorgeous.
And Barboza was like starting to wear the damage on his face too. Like Barboza was wearing damage all over him.
Oh yeah, this was a war. Like I know we've been really high on Barboza, but this was a war. Like Burgos definitely had some shiny moments. Like each man could put together a highlight reel from that first round for sure. Now round 2, surprise, surprise, another absolute banger. It came down to, once again, I leaned Barboza just the way he kept making Burgos wobble and stagger, and just the more impactful shots. Now, it's weird because damage, like how do you define damage? Because Barboza's face probably looked more like shit than Burgos's face, and he had the big gash on his shin. But Burgos was getting wobbled. I think by the end of round 2, Burgos had been noticeably jelly legs wobbled at least like 6 times.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like, how do you evaluate that damage?
Well, like, it's hard to say, right? Because, like, in a boxing match, you might be tempted to score that at 10-8 just based on him just, like, getting pieced the fuck out. But then also, man, like, a lot goes into it, but I really think that Burgos' ability to take damage, like, has to be considered. It's just like Diaz.
And his ability to return fire, too. Like,
correct, because
when I think 10-8 in my head,
right,
I think of one-sided. Like, I don't think of, like, a back-and-forth war.
Well, and the reason he's eating those shots is because he's sitting in the pocket to throw back.
Like pretty much, bro, and we both do this whenever a round's super close, we write banger in all caps in our notes. And, like, in my opinion, if I have banger written in all caps in my notes to describe a round, it kind of by default can't be a 10-8. Because if it was a 10-8, I wouldn't have wrote banger. I would have wrote ass whooping. You know, and that's kind of how I look at it. That if the guy's returning fire enough and not actually getting dropped, like I can forgive those wobbles, especially on a guy like Burgos. Now, I say that all to say, going into round 3, I had Burgos down 2018.
Me too, but, you know, with a guy like Burgos that you just know he's the fucking Terminator, like, there's a chance that he lands a super huge shot and ends the night because Barboza doesn't have the best chin.
Yeah, you're right. That's a very good point, and that's, like, Burgos' biggest strength. Now, I did think the story of the night ends up being maybe Burgos is a big Beefy Boys fan and he saw a Chin of the Year award and it went to his head, obviously joking. But I'm saying I do think he did rely on that chin a little bit too much. I think
How long can he do that for?
I mean, I don't know. I think you just need to look at Tony Ferguson and find out. But now I like I said, that you can't rely on that. Now, if you have that in your back pocket, like a Diaz,
right.
But you can't have, like, strategy number 1 is he can't knock me out because I'm too tough. Like, not at this level. Not in top 10. Not when you're fighting all-time, like, not, really high-level guys like Barboza, scary guys like Barboza. Now, all right, so let's get to the actual finish. So in round 3, it's kind of more the same. Like, a very similar style of fight. Both guys are training, but, Barboza's landing stiff shots and He lands a hard right, but not necessarily any harder than any other rights he's landed.
Just one of the same ones, one of the exact same ones that staggered Burgos in rounds 1 and 2.
Look,
like one of those exact same shots.
Now, and there's a delayed reaction. And at first, sometimes you overhype delay. Like sometimes in those extreme high pressure moments, time kind of quote unquote slows down. You know, as if you've ever played a sport yourself.
Though.
Well, I was doubting myself because in my head I was like, that was like so sorry. He gets punched, multiple seconds go by, and then Burgos falls over, and he doesn't just fall over; he knocks out. He's like unconscious, but it's like multiple seconds later. But in my head, I was like, oh, that was probably like a half a second, but it just seemed like forever. No, like I actually went back and counted Mississippi's, bro. Like it was 4 full real-time seconds, which is forever. In a sequence like we're describing, like a pro athlete can run 40 yards in that amount of time.
Yeah, great analogy actually. You know what's weird is it's like his brain just turned itself off.
So and then Barboza lands a couple finishing blows, which some people I heard say was unnecessary. I mean,
you got to do it. It's your job.
When that kind of delayed reaction, like nobody knew he was like knocked out. Nobody knew what was happening. Nobody is he pulling guard? Is he doing the?
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck is this? And then he hits the cage and his head snapped back, and I was like, is he out?
Yeah, that's like that old CTE society on Instagram. They call that the old pulling guard knockout.
Yeah.
But all right. So Burgos loses by knock. Barbosa wins by TKO. This gets fight of the night. One of the scary. Everybody like Dana White, Chael Sonnen, everybody described this fight as scary. This finish as scary. They all use that same exact adjective to describe it as scary, and it was scary. I didn't think it was necessarily scarier than some of the stuff. Like I thought Jacare's was more scary, but I get you. It was weird. Now you got to think he was 100% already concussed when he took that last blow. 100%. So like whenever that's like somebody getting knocked out of a football game, coming out and then getting like physically knocked out again. Like that's your brain is more vulnerable. But so I want to get to this little nugget before we get out to this fight. I told you I had a nugget, and I rarely like to talk about medical stuff, and neither one of us are obviously medical doctors. Now on Twitter, an actual a ringside physician, I think it was actually the ringside physician that was there last night, posted a video on Twitter, and I think MMA Junkie on one of those accounts retweeted it. But it was so dope because it was an actual ringside doctor. So it's like sometimes doctors will make videos, but it's like, dude, you're a plastic surgeon. Like you don't know about like brain trauma. Like, but no, actual ringside fight doctor. So like nobody more credentialed to speak on this quite literally on the planet. And he said literally, there's not really a medical, like essentially Burgos's chin / balls / heart overcame like medical science, like literally for 4 seconds. Like he talked about it with a few of his medical colleagues, and that's the only like logical conclusion they can even come to. Like his
will to fight, literally his brain on.
That's the word the doctor used. Like I know it doesn't sound like a medical term, like will to fight, like that's like bro science fight talk. Like no. The medical doctors are like the only like his will, his heart, his want to that his, like what we love about Shane Burgos defied medical science for upwards of 4 seconds.
That is unreal.
Completely unreal. Because that's what I thought happened, but that just seems like kind of like a not super.
It's like his brain was off, but his body was like still like trying to do it, and then finally like the brain signals faded out, and the body was just like, "Oh, we're not doing this."
It's like almost proof of that third thing, like that spirit entity, right? Because like it wasn't the brain and it wasn't the body, like it was like the fighter's spirit, like it literally, like I'm telling you,
your soul almost.
Yeah, man, like that extra little something that can't be described, the reason why I'm agnostic and not atheist, you know what I'm saying? That little bit of unexplainable, like there's something
that small line's important.
Yeah, for sure, man. I'm not going to go grab a beer. I'm going to go grab a new water, but if you need anything, I'm just going to grab a water real quick. I don't know if you want to introduce Chikagian or Arujo. Honestly, if you want to even start breaking it down, I don't want to spend too much time on that. But I definitely wanted to give Burgos and Barbosa hella time, and I definitely want to give Co-Main and Main hella time. So, yeah, I'll grab a water. Honestly, feel free to dive into Chikagian and Arujo.
Cool. Will do. 125 women's flyweight. We have number 7, Viviane Araujo at plus 115. Versus Caitlin Chikagian at minus 140. Viviane Araujo is ranked 7 and Chikagian's ranked 2. In 28 professional fights for Chikagian, she does not have a victory by finish. She has been finished brutally by a head kick from Valentina Shevchenko, but she doesn't have a finished victory of her own. So she's a decision machine. I'm talking about Chikagian never having a finish in her career for herself as a win.
Yeah, and I know just last week I was on the podcast like saying like, oh, it doesn't have to be a knockout to be a good fight. And I still feel that way. But to never have knocked anybody out and you're the number 2 rank in your division, it's not what people are there to see, man. It's not right.
Number 2 rank, and when she fought Valentina, she got so brutally knocked out with that head kick. That shit was like, it sounded like a baseball bat hitting something.
And it's going to sound kind of fucked up, but whenever you try to take a point fighting approach against an absolute real killer like Valentina, like that's kind of what comes. Like that's what happens, right? Yeah, like if you're not fighting fire with fire, you know what I'm saying? that fire going to melt that ice. But
it's the only reason like Brandon Moreno could fight Davison Figueiredo is because he's down to say fuck point fighting. Like, I'll just fight you to the death, essentially. Like, that's why Moreno was such a good challenger, and I'm looking forward to that fight.
Oh, I can't wait, man. Cannot wait. Yeah, and the fact that Katlyn Chookagian, this is going to kind of turn into the, even though she won, I'm going to kind of still shit on her, but like,
oh, me too. I'm
like
ready.
The fact, like, okay, good. I got my dance partner for this shit.
Oh yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, real talk though, the fact that Katlyn Chookagian's number 2, isn't it like everything that we don't like about the women's flyweight division, like all kind of like a microcosm of like isn't that
boring,
like that personified, boring, exactly,
not outspoken,
not
very just like distance control is her best attribute, which like would be great if she was a volume striker, but she doesn't do that even. So she just plays it safe. It's like, fuck, man. Like, get in there and swing.
Or take some of those kicks high. She has, like, the longest legs in the division and, like, only, like essentially refuses to do head kicks. Like, she'll throw one every once in a while. But, like that's probably your best shot at knocking somebody else or just inflicting damage. I don't know. But, yeah, we can dive into it. Chookagian was the -140 favorite. And I'm not going to lie. I did like Viviane Araújo at +115 coming into this. Now, time proves that wouldn't have been the smart way to go. But I felt good about it going for that exact reason that we're talking about. Like, I did feel like she was a little bit more violent, a little bit more, I thought that physicality was going to be more of a factor. But
so how did you score rounds 1 and 2? I'm interested to know.
Yeah. I actually gave round 1 to Araújo. I thought it was very close on the feet. And then and then she got Chookagian against the fence for like the last minute. It was kind of a snoozer of a round. Like, I gave it to Araújo essentially for that last minute of like clinch control, but that's kind of a weak reason to give somebody a round. But no, not a whole lot was going on.
So I gave it to Araújo as well. I just thought exactly what you just said. She did, I believe, got a takedown in there as well. Maybe that was the second round. But either way, I thought she did a little more in the first round. Now, how'd you score the second round?
Yeah, and I want to talk about what did or did not happen.
Did not happen, which I think did happen, but then she realized, oh, no, I can breathe.
Want to get into that for sure. So, I had round 2, 10-9 Chookagian. I did think she stepped her volume way up in round 2, and was in classic Chookagian style, managed the distance very, very effectively, and kept herself more safe and kept herself from up against the fence, which is the only reason she lost 1. So those little tweaks and adjustments I did think was enough to win the round. Now let's get to you're nodding your head. You feel similar?
I do feel pretty similar, except whenever they got into the grappling battle, it looked like Araújo with the one arm or the arm and guillotine actually got the tap out of Chookagian.
Yeah, now that's what I want to get into.
Now, did you think that was a tap, or I thought it was that she then realized like she was like about to do it, kind of started and was like, ah.
So, and for those hardcores out there that watch the other promotions, we just saw a potential situation like this happen at PFL. The guy that beat Verdum, and then it got overturned to a no contest. So this was fresh on my mind, and they call it a Brazilian tap, which ironically enough, it happened to a Brazilian. So it's kind of like an unfair, but it's like a fake tap, or like they say, because a tap I think technically is supposed to be 3 taps, and if you do 1 or 2, it can create this gray area that could maybe buy you the split second that you need to escape a tight, submission attempt and reverse the position or whatever you need to do. Call it the Brazilian tap, kind of tongue in cheek. It's kind of like back in the day when Brazilian MMA was a little murky, or they had a bad reputation for doing that and getting away with it. They call it Brazilian tap. Now, Joe Rogan and Cormier I kind of feel like a combination of how they both feel, like, because they were going back and forth, and kind of agree with what Joe was saying, like one camera angle where you just see the hand and it's super zoomed in, looks super like a tap. But then when you zoom it out and you see the whole arm,
looks like he's trying to lock her hands.
Yeah. So I think it's probably safer to go with the zoomed out camera angle, usually more context.
See the whole picture, not the lesser.
More context is our friend here, not less context. And, you know, if you zoom in on any little weird angle, you can find things that may look a little weird way that don't look that way when you watch the whole angle. So, yeah, I'm giving her, I guess, the benefit of the doubt. Was it murky? And do I wish we probably weren't talking about it at all? And you're right. Without that, does she probably lose that round, even on my scorecard? Yeah. You know, so did it affect the outcome of the fight? Yeah. Now, but honestly, do we trust those Texas refs to make that call the other direction? Like, I honestly feel like
not really.
I feel like we'd probably be having a similar conversation if they did call it a sub, and especially the way that the reffing had been all night, and we're kind of not really trusting these guys as it is. You know, we'd probably be coming down their road saying that it was an early stoppage. So I'm kind of fine with just letting the ball play as it lies as far as the whole controversy goes. They didn't call it a tap. I'm not going to view it as a tap, but it is worth talking about. It was controversial.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I actually was kind of like 50-50 on the round. I saw it kind of both ways. I scored at Chikagian, but I wouldn't have a problem if you told me that you scored 2 to Araujo.
Yeah, I feel that. I'm not going to die on the hill. I did think Chikagian did a good job, but largely due to the old Brazilian tap and are able to escape that. Like I said,
right. That's what I mean.
Yeah, like how do you factor that in? Like, yeah.
I kind of I think I did put value on that as far as how I scored it. But third round.
So we both had it 19-19 at the end of the day.
Yeah, right. Now third round comes out and Araujo is just pretty much gassing out by the end of by like the first minute of the round. She's just getting outworked by Chikagian.
Yep. And I did say Chikagian needs to throw more head kicks earlier. And in this round, she actually landed a pretty clean head kick, which proved to be one of the more, impactful strikes.
Impactful strikes, for sure.
Yeah. So I did like that. And I like that even though we shitted on Chikagian for not being known for finishing and not having necessarily the most killer instinct, I thought in the third round she kind of smelt a little bit of the blood in the water and turned it up.
She went after it. Yeah, I'll give her that.
She did. I give her credit where credit's due. She did kind of go. Now, was she necessarily going for a finish? Maybe. I mean, that can be debatable, but she turned it up a little bit, which I do appreciate. She didn't coast.
I think for her offensive style is so like reserved and defensive that it's hard for her to get finishes because she doesn't chase anything ever and doesn't throw in crazy volume combinations.
Yeah, and doesn't try to put a whole lot on any one shot, which a lot of those things are traditionally seen as good things, but you got to every once in a while take a risk, Now, 2 judges saw it the same way we did. It was 29-28 for Chikagian. One judge saw it 30-27. That's not as bad as some of the other fights, but I still think it's kind of weak to give Chikagian round 1 of that. But hey, it's not as bad as some of the other ones. But
I mean, this is at least a 30-27 where you can defend it.
Yeah, exactly. It's not as bad.
But these judges, man, like they just upset me.
We're still in this super awkward part of the flyweight division. I definitely don't want to spend too much time on it. But so Chikagian was 2. She wins. I mean, Andrade just lost. And Chikagian's already lost in worse fashion. I don't know, man. This just I can't stand this division. The women's flyweight. Just so you got Shevchenko champ, Andrade still 1, Chikagian still 2. We got Murphy at 3. You got Maya at 4. You got Calvillo at 5. Calderwood at 6. It's just like I don't even know what you do there. It's Shevchenko and everybody else,
I know it. That's what's so crazy is it's like, what do we do? Like, she's just so much better than all the rest of these girls.
It really is facts. Yeah, honestly, I don't want to spend too much more time on that flyweight division. They'll announce some lackluster fight announcement, and unless it involves Shevchenko, I'm not going to be, or Calvillo, honestly, I won't be that interested. Like, I've been a pretty big proponent of Lauren Murphy, but it's not like she's going to, not like go out there and give us fireworks, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it's so hard to get excited about the top end of that division. Yeah, we can keep it pushing because we got Matt Schnell coming off his impressive win over Tyson Nam, minus 165 favorite, the number 8th ranked flyweight. fighting Rogerio Bontorin, plus 135 underdog, the number 9 ranked flyweight. And the reason why I have that word emphasis on the word flyweight is because
glad you do.
This fight took place at bantamweight.
They've been doing this.
Yeah, they've been doing it. I'm not
super
the
late,
biggest fan.
Super late replacement, though, right?
So, yeah, late replacement, which is the reason for it. Which I think it was only late on Bontorin's side, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct. Schnell had a fight.
He was with a fight Alex Perez, which would have been. I would have been a lot more interested in that fight. That fight's a pretty interesting fight. But hey, we got what we got. It turned out to be a pretty entertaining fight. But Bontorin did miss weight, which
only by 1 pound.
By 1 pound.
You know what I mean?
And it's like, I don't even know how to feel about it. Because on one hand, it's like, are you out of line for missing weight when it's a 10-pound higher than you usually make? But the last minute nature of it, I don't know. And another thing is, it's also rough whenever a guy misses weight and then physically looks massive in the cage, right? It's rougher to kind of, because it was 1 pound, but he was so thick.
It's crazy because like 1 pound doesn't make really a difference, like as far as like the actual fight itself. Like we both know that.
Yeah.
Everyone probably knows that. And like as far as cutting, like he probably, if he missed by 1 pound, he probably cut hard.
He tried.
Right.
But it also also makes my brain go to like, well, goddamn, what is he in the octagon at in a flyweight fight?
Right. That's what I was wondering too. Like how do these flyweight guys get that little? Like what do they walk around at? Like are they all like Figueiredo, or is he just the biggest of all of them?
Yeah, it's wild, and he's not as shredded as Figueiredo either. He looked like thick, he's not missing any meals. I'll put it that way. But yeah, so we have these flyweights fighting at bantamweight. Yeah, and we'll get into it, man. Bontorin looked really good though. Like all those things kind of considered, like if you kind of take all that and set it aside, Bontorin looked really good. Which I honestly thought that, because I remember distinctly breaking down the Matt Schnell-Tyson-Nam fight, and all we kept talking about was the lack of pop on Schnell's punches. Like I remember that very distinctly, how much we kind of went in, kind of on the Chikagian-esque lack of pop on Matt Schnell's shots in the Nam fight, and I remember us going in depth on that, and I thought, so damn, that's really not going to translate well to a 135er, especially a 135er that missed weight. You know what I'm saying? Like there's going to be little to no chance.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say is like they're not deep in their cut, so like their brain is even more hydrated. So like you're exactly right. Like Schnell was going to have to point fight this win.
Yes, and Bontorin was just taking the exact opposite strategy. Like, look, I'm about to just crack you harder than you're cracking me. Like. He was there to brawl, not, put on a textbook showing. Yeah,
he was like game as fuck, honestly. I loved Bontorin last night. He was enjoyable.
Now, let me ask you this. Did you have any rounds for Nam?
You mean Schnell?
Sorry, Schnell. Yes, sorry.
I scored it 30-27 for Bontorin.
Me too. And so one judge gave one of those rounds to Schnell. I had to be 2 because in my notes I wrote 2 was a little bit closer of a round, but just once again Bontorin causing more impact and damage. So, like I don't know, I still disagree with it, but I guess they gave him 2. It was a more competitive round. And man, I gotta say, Matt Schnell was tough as nails. He ate a bunch of shots. He went the distance. He didn't get finished. He was hurt real bad in the 3rd round. And then we also got to get in the 3rd round to this mouthpiece fiasco.
Right. He gets his mouthpiece knocked out or spits it out, whatever happens. 2.5 minutes to go, he's up against the cage, gets taken down, and you'd think the ref would immediately just stop them when they're in, full mount right there, because there were points at which he could have stopped it.
Yeah, it wasn't super active. It was way less active than whenever they stood up Mazzani and Kushweda.
100%. And then beyond that, it sounded like the ref didn't even know the mouthpiece was out.
Yeah,
you could hear the corner yelling at him.
You could hear DC and Rogan were going in. Like, he's not even aware that the mouthpiece is out. Yeah, man.
They were like, he might step on it.
Yeah, he was almost stepping on it. And yeah, I mean, it ended up kind of being no harm, no foul, but it would have been really whack to see Schnell lose some teeth right there,
Yeah.
Just unnecessarily damaged, would have been really whack to see it. And as we all know, our people that played contact sports know, most people think that mouthpieces are there to protect your teeth, and it does help, but it also greatly
for your brain,
in preventing concussions. Yeah, so it would have been really rough to see something unnecessarily whack happen there. Thankfully, we didn't. But yeah, he just once again another example of these Texas refs just not being fully in control of the whole situation or aware of the whole, and that's quite literally their job title and like the only reason they're even there. Like they're not there to have a front row seat. You know what I'm saying? They're there to keep these fighters as safe as possible and to enact unified rules and to put mouth guards back the fucking when they fall out. Like that's literally one of like the
it's like part of your. It's like one of the most important parts of your job as far as like being the octagon official is like. You do those things because you're the third man in. We don't want you to be apparent. So, like, and that guy was trying to be too unapparent. Yeah, he was like, "Oh, I'm not even here." It's like I felt like he was just give him his mouthpiece.
Like, yeah,
right.
Like, I was not a fan. Like I said, thankfully for all parties involved, nothing really came out of it. But you can't always count on that. And yeah, so Bontarine gets the win over Schnell. I gotta think that like when these fighters lose these fights that like are late notice and like a weight class up, like it's gotta kind of not have the same effect as just a straight up L, right? Like as far as like,
yeah, it's way different.
It's got to be viewed differently. It's got to. I mean, I do.
Like it's definitely a loss. It's definitely a fight you lost, right?
It's definitely a fight you lost, and you lost it fair and square.
Right, but beyond that, it's like the circumstances surrounding it. It's like if you give a lot of guys like that do the late replacement fights. In their wins, when they do win those fights, will be like, give me a full camp next time and you'll see me at my best. And there's been multiple times where that has been true. So it's like the late notice shit does suck.
All right, easy. There's Masvidal, but all right. So no, I honestly think all that happens. They probably swap rankings. Bontarine probably goes to 8 and Schnell probably goes to 9. I think that's fair. I think that works. But yeah, we can keep it pushing. We can keep it pushing for sure. Because these next two fights, there's plenty to get into, and we definitely want to give them their just due. Next, we got old fan favorite Tony Ferguson. The Houston fans showed him all the love in the world, probably a little bit, maybe even a little bit too much. We'll get into that as far as how they like express.
You think it, though? I see. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So
I was gonna say like Tony deserves the love because he does show up like short notice. Late replacement, he'll do all of it. He's a company man. Like had that 12-fight win streak.
Oh yeah, solely responsible for the bonus increase. Saved that snoozer of a press conference where everybody was just going to kiss each other's ass. He stirred it up. Yeah, I mean, what's not to love? But yeah, we'll get to what I meant by that earlier. But we got Tony Ferguson plus 130 underdog fighting number 5th ranked fighting Beneil Dariush minus 160 favorite. 9th ranked lightweight, and the last time Dariush fought, we just gushed over how much we just loved him as a fighter and a man, and all still rings true.
Yeah, still a good dude.
Post-fight interview, that was kind of weird. Post-fight interview a little weirder this time.
He stays on his weird shit, man. I watched he was in Embedded, obviously, because he's the co-main, and like, kind of a funky dude.
Yeah, definitely a funky dude, which is kind of cool. It's a nice little switch it up from your typical fighter. No, I do got to say, when I first saw Tony Ferguson at plus 130, I mean, obviously I know he's coming off losses and all that. I like that number. I did from a betting perspective.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Like
hell yeah. And like,
but if you like Dariush, 160 is not the worst number to get him at either.
It just depends. It all depends on what version of Tony you got here.
Yeah.
And I think we're getting – this is Tony. Like, there's not versions anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure, man. But, man, this is kind of a fight with the exception of the third round, definitely, or the exception of the second round. But, I mean, this fight definitely had one flavor to it. Like, it kind of went the same way throughout the fight. Like, it wasn't one of those fights where each round kind of told its own story. It was kind of just more of the same.
Like, I would say the breakdown as a whole is that Tony tries to stand and strike. Beneil's doing a good job of standing and striking with him, but is able to get takedowns.
Yeah,
and then control him on top.
Yes, yep, and got Tony going backwards. That was the thing that jumped.
That was crazy
for me.
He was so aggressive to start. So aggressive.
Started round one, Tony's was going backwards almost the whole round until they ended up on the ground. And then once they did end up on the ground, Dariush had 3+ minutes of ground control time. It was weird. I was really weird because super active ground and pound, but super effective ground and pound defense by Tony. Like Dariush was
his elbows in the first round were nice.
Yeah, and he was throwing a lot of volume, and some of those were getting through, but also a lot of them weren't. And I was a little concerned that Dariush was going to gas himself out. But
I think Tony was throwing nice elbows from the bottom.
Oh, from the bottom, yes. Yeah, and I also was worried about Dariush, getting cut up from those. I mean, he did it. But yeah, it was because it was weird. Like I said, like a ton of volume, but I don't know how much impact from those Dariush round one ground and pounds.
Yeah, and I mean, second round comes out, Tony actually gets the Darce and had it pretty deep, but couldn't get his hips out.
Yes, yeah, and Tony loves his Darces, so I did. My ears perked up. I was like, oh, Tony Darce, is he gonna get his crew back on track right fucking here? Yeah, Dariush, high level grappler, super high level.
Absolutely.
Grappler. I think multiple time no-gi world champion. So I mean, it's gonna be hard to catch him in a Darce. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And especially get him to tap to one. Now, round two. But round two is where that heel hook attempt comes into play.
It's more than an attempt. Like, he executes the heel hook, and Tony's like grimacing in pain and shit, but like fighting through it. Like, dude's tough.
Locked out, hyperextended heel hook. Now, Dariush after the fight said he heard Tony's knee pop very loudly. Tony, after the fight, was downplaying it, saying, my ankle's a little sore, but I'm good. Well, it's just classic Tony fashion. But yeah, Dariush was like, no, fuck that. Like, I know, like, his knee is fucked. Like, and then Chael this morning, Chael was like, Tony is injured right now. He's not hurt. He's injured.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, so yeah, Dariush. So the heel hook, it wasn't really a heel hook attempt, but just it's so crazy, like almost identical to the Oliveira elbow hyperextension. It was just on his leg instead. So second fight in a row where we literally watched Tony's ligaments be like shredded before our eyes, or at least stretched. And and Tony just does what Tony does and doesn't tap. Continues to fight. It's I don't know, man. Like it's starting to become like less cool and more like I just don't really want to watch him just get shredded every fight. But before that was part of the allure, like, oh, Tony doesn't tap. But now it's just like, right. I kind of wish he would. Like, yeah.
Well, now it's a thing of like, so Dariush wins 30-27. He wins all 3 rounds on all 3 cards. I agree with that.
Yep.
For Dariush, what's next? It has to be like a top tier guy, Maybe Islam. I don't know.
Yeah, that would be interesting. That would be really interesting for both guys. It just sucks. Like I should like that matchup, but I just don't for some reason. It's because it's like there's like 2 lightweight divisions. There's like your famous lightweight division and you're not famous.
You're trying to make it division.
And it's just and they don't like get treated the same. They don't get match made the same. They don't get implications.
They don't get treated the same.
Because man, like for example, if Tony Ferguson wins last night, I mean he's right back. He's back, right? He's back. He's back.
And he gets like a top tier guy.
But Dariush dominates him for 15 minutes.
And we're like, does he get a top tier guy? And it's like he deserves a top tier guy.
So Dariush was 9 before last night. So let's just go through it. We got Hooker at 8, which coming off a loss. You got RDA at 7 coming off a win. I think that's probably the direction I lean in. You got Connor at 6, already booked with Poirier. Ferguson's at 5, but you just beat him. Then is where it gets crazy because before last night you had Chandler at 4, Oliveira at 3, Gagey at 2, Poirier at 1. So without spoiling too much, the only names on that list that make an inkling of sense are kind of Gagey or RDA. I think if Gagey takes it, it's because he needs to get the fuck in the cage. He needs to fight.
Yeah.
For a cool minute. But I also don't think like Gagey would be super stoked on that fight. But
I think he's just waiting to get. I think he's just waiting to get the winner of the next fight that we talk about.
Yeah, but then what do you do with the winner of Poirier Connor? Like that, everybody's already deemed that the #1 contenders match, at least unofficially.
I don't know.
It's a
This whole
real
division,
show.
yeah, this whole division got fucked.
So, like I said, it's like in a perfect, fair world where like there wasn't these kind of two lightweight divisions, I go Dariush Gage immediately or as soon as possible. Even though but that also doesn't work because Dariush said he wants to take like 9 months off because he's having a baby. So that doesn't work. You can't schedule him against Gagey because Gagey needs to get in there sooner than that. I think the winner of Poirier-McGregor gets the next title shot, if you ask me. Now, maybe the loser of Poirier-McGregor, but then depending on who that loser is, does that fight get booked? Hooker makes some sense, but not really. He's 3 slots lower than the guy he just beat, and he's coming off a loss. Like RDA, you get some more name cachet. RDA is coming off the Felder win. It's still 2 rankings lower than the guy you just beat.
Yeah, like Dariush in a weird spot because he's going to be asking for someone above Tony, and no one above him has any reason to fight him.
Exactly. Now, and then you bring up Makhachev, which Makhachev is a good one, but also kind of not a good one. There's a lot of reasons you can like that matchups and a lot of reasons you can't. One reason you say you don't like it is because, people would like to see him against somebody even higher than Dariush, as crazy as that sounds. That's what a lot of people are calling for. Now, and then another reason is a lot of people don't want to wait, probably Islam included, 9 months to see him again, which is what Dariush is calling for. Didn't really like that he called for that, but I do understand it. And then you get it's kind of throwing water on both of their parades, right? Like neither one of them is the name to, which for the hardcores of a fight, and whoever wins that is firmly a name. But I just think for the casual fan out there, and even for those like trying to sell gate tickets and pay-per-views, I don't think that fight moves the needle that much. Now, would I personally be super stoked on watching Dariush Makhachev? I think that's amazing. But
me too.
It just
doesn't make sense.
That doesn't have that. You don't hear cha-ching when you say Dariush Makhachev. It just doesn't have that Poirier-McGregor and Jonnu Jones. It just doesn't have that juice. Hell, it doesn't even have the same juice that Dariush Ferguson has, in my opinion, maybe because of Ferguson's cachet.
I think what it all boils down to is Dariush is going to be asking for someone of the names you just said above Ferguson. And then what's going to end up happening is none of those guys want to fight him. He's not going to want to fight someone that's like very far behind him, if at all behind him. But he's going to wait 9 months. So the whole division's going to play out in front of him. So like his name's kind of out of the hat. Like he took his own name out of the hat.
He's the new Gagey.
Gaethje, yeah, but Gaethje still is in like a different tier. Like Dariush needs to be fighting to get into that place. Like Gaethje's in that place.
Right. Very true. He's not. Yeah, he hasn't done enough yet for sure. But yeah, I mean, I'm happy for Dariush. I do think he kind of could have parlayed this into a bigger opportunity. But that's not his character.
I think he's smart. I think he's really smart to let it play out because, like we're talking about, no one above him is willing to fight him. So,
I think best case scenario for Dariush. Correct me if I'm wrong. Best case scenario, Conor beats Poirier, and then he gets Poirier.
Yes, that's probably exactly right.
Like best case scenario, without spoiling anything. But yeah, all right. Let's get to this main event because I think we've. I don't really want to touch on the whole Marxist ideology and Elon Musk.
Yeah, no.
I kind of thought, I don't know. I just thought it was kind of like pointless and just didn't really do much for it didn't even do much for like what the cause he was trying to do it for. Like, I don't know. It's kind of a wasted, squandered mic opportunity in my opinion. But yeah, introduce this the main event, please.
Yeah, so 155, we got the lightweight belt on the line, the vacant belt. Which is weird because we have number 3, Alex Oliveira, minus 135. Or I'm sorry, Alex. Charles. Fuck. Yeah, my bad. Charles Du Bronx Oliveira. My bad, champ. Against Michael Chandler, Iron Mike Chandler, who's ranked number 4, plus 115. What's weird about it, though, is that, or what I was alluding to, is that it's 3 versus 4 for the belt.
Yes.
So.
Yes.
Great fight though. Like I loved it on paper.
Oh yeah, loved it on paper. Last week, you know, at the end of the podcast, we made our predictions. I chose Oliveira, you chose Chandler, and I'm not even saying that to brag. I'm saying that the opposite. As we got closer and closer to fight day, I felt like shit about my pick. Like I don't know if it was just UFC did a great job with those hype videos or what, but just between Twitter and just second guessing myself and all that, and just how easily he got rid of Hooker, I just was like, you know, I every hour we got closer to the fight, just the doubt was creeping into my head on my selection. So how did you feel, without spoiling it? How did you feel like an hour before the fight, like leading up to it? Were you feeling still pretty good about your prediction?
Pretty good. Yeah, I felt like Charles Oliveira looked like kind of like skinnier than normal for some reason, and that might have just been because he's standing next to Chandler, who is like super ripped, like shredded.
Yeah.
So maybe it was that, but like, and the marketing, like they do market Chandler, like they were trying to market him for that.
Now, were you surprised that Chandler was the underdog? Granted, it was a very small underdog, but Chandler at the +110, Oliveira at -135. When I saw that, I was a little surprised. But
yeah,
it makes sense if you like aren't being like if you aren't being like what do they call that, like recency bias. Like if you're not using like if you're looking at if your microscope is zoomed way out, I think it makes sense. But you know, what do we do as MMA fans? We're in the moment. You know, what have you done for me lately? You just knocked out Dan Hooker super easy. Like so I think that's where a lot of our heads were at, just as a collective group of MMA fans. But yeah, what a fight. Chael brought up a very interesting point after the fight of how it's not very often that the championship fight is to see who fights the other guy.
Yeah, I know.
It was like this inverted number one contenders match, like this this weird like parallel
you know what's
universe
funny?
where the championship is to determine who fights the number one contender.
You know what's really funny about it is every single lightweight in that division hopes Conor wins so that they can fight him at the top, because it's the most money they can possibly ever make.
Everybody, man. Yeah, no,
they won't admit that, but they all cheer for him to win. I guarantee it, because it only helps them.
And I think this is the first championship in a while where we didn't know for a fact if it was the two best guys in the division fighting for the belt.
Right.
In my opinion, I thought.
Right, I agree with that.
It was a weird title fight. It was a vacant belt. It was for 3 versus 4. One guy
feels like a paper crown. Feels like a paper crown.
I'm not gonna go there. I'm not gonna go there. But
hey, I'm saying Poirier's got to get. They got to get through him too, man.
Yeah, I feel it. I feel that for sure. Yeah, for sure, man. So we've laid the context out, but at the end of the day, we got to ring that bell and the action had to get started at some point. So, man, the tale of two stories. Am I right, man?
What a crazy first round.
Yeah, just insane blitzkrieg.
So yeah, and it's all over the place too. It's on the ground. It's on the feet. Chandler's looking like pretty electric. I felt like Oliveira's striking was like okay, but Chandler's striking looked really fucking good in the start. He had him cut up over the eye. Whenever Oliveira got him down, Chandler was able to like get to not half guard, but was in his guard and was able to get up and out and essentially be safe.
Let me ask you a question. My memory's it's failing me right now. Now, did Oliveira take Chandler's back before or after he was hurt in the first round?
He took it before he got hurt.
Okay. Yeah, so like that round was a roller
Oh no. I'm wrong, because he was bleeding all over his back.
Well, you know what? I think he had hurt him a little bit, but
I think he got hurt twice.
Yeah, he got hurt twice. So yeah, this round's a roller coaster. Like Chandler, like I said, was landing some big shots and split Oliveira's eye like less than a minute into the round one, and then this crazy sequence happens, and I forget it wasn't a traditional takedown, was it? Where how did they even get to the ground? Oliveira, because I remember Oliveira got his back, but how did that is it just like through a scramble?
Yeah, essentially they just got into a scramble where they were just like kind of grappling together, and Oliveira it was weird how it happened. I want to say that like Chandler almost like slipped in a transition.
Yeah,
and Oliveira took his back like off the cage. You know what I'm saying? Had a hook in.
Yeah, that's why I was exactly because like I was struggling because it wasn't like Oliveira did like a classic double leg or anything like that. But needless to say, so after Oliveira's already been hurt once, he ends up, and mind you, Oliveira has the most submissions in UFC history, and he ends up on Chandler's back. And I thought that was honestly worst case scenario for Michael Chandler, and I thought it was best case scenario for Charles Oliveira. And I wanted to test the theory that we talked about before on this show about the other promotions compared to the UFC. We both feel that, like, the jiu-jitsu, the grappling is where it's most apparent. So, like, right? You've made similar sentiments before. Like the strikers and the other organizations can bang, but like on the ground, I think is where the gap is bigger between the UFC and some of the organizations, and that's relevant because Michael Chandler came from Bellator, and I don't know if he's had somebody like Oliveira on his back.
But I mean, he looked great down there. He was hand fighting. He was safe. Like never got even put into like a deep choke position, and even when he was in the body triangle, he was able to get the feet unlocked. And the dude, when he exploded off of his back and like whipped around, it was crazy. He went from being fully mounted to having like top position.
Yes, bro. You exploded is the word I was literally about to say. Like, yes, the explosion was crazy because Oliveira is such a high level grappler. And that was, once again, that was like Jimmy's and Joe's, not X's and O's. Like, he just pretty much exploded out of that. Like, I mean, it was impressive. It was so athletic, that's exactly what Michael Chandler brings to the table. He's one of the best athletes in the whole promotion.
And then after they got back to standing, because Chandler, got him back up, he cracked him and had him so hurt at the end of the round. Oliveira was like reaching for a leg and then ate a hard hook to the face, and I thought he was almost out. And then somehow survives the round.
I thought it was a wrap. Honestly, I'm so glad it wasn't Herb Dean repping that fight. Like, I think Herb Dean would have stopped it whenever Oliveira was eating shots,
reaching for the leg. Yep.
I think Herb Dean would have stopped it. I really do, bro. Like, because in my head, and then you know what the smartest move Oliveira did in the whole fight? It was just pulling guard. Right?
Yeah.
I feel like that fight was a nut hair away from being stopped whenever he pulled guard to show that he was still intelligently defending. If he would have stayed on all fours or with his face facing the mat, that fight was seconds from being called.
100%.
The fact that he completely changed the position showed like man, genius. Absolute genius.
What's crazy though is that like I thought he was going to be like super wobbly in the second round. Like I didn't know if a minute was enough to recover from like the damage that he had just taken there because that was toward the end of the first. You know what I mean?
Damage.
So
hold on, before we go to the second round, I do have a question because this has been like going around Twitter too. It's been pretty controversial. 2 out of the 3 judges had the first round a 10-8 for Chandler. Been pretty controversial. I did not. I thought
I had a 10-9. I had a 10-9.
I thought Oliveira.
I thought there was enough. Yeah.
It's not like Oliveira was landing some jabs. He was landing some shots back. Like it wasn't like now it got real bad real fast, but I don't think like it was an uneven, uncompetitive round. Like I think people need to remind them like 10-8 to me is like a one-sided, uncompetitive ass whooping of a round.
Right.
Or you drop him multiple times, and I don't mean wobble, I mean drop.
Yes, I agree with that.
So yeah. So I don't know. Like I thought that. So we're both in the same page. We saw it 10-9. A lot of people were pretty salty at the judges that gave it 10-8. But it ends up not mattering. Spoiler alert. But I did want to spend some time on it. I did want to touch on it.
Oh yeah, for sure. But what I was going to say, like leading into the second round, was like it was close to a 10-8. I won't even say it wasn't close to it for me at least. Maybe. But like what's so wild is it was like a North Pole, South Pole kind of a thing because I thought Oliveira wasn't going to have enough time to recover between rounds because he just got like, honestly kind of worked toward the end.
Oh, there were elbows in there. There were big from a powerful guy.
Yeah. And then, dude, 8 seconds in the second round, he just clips Chandler with that super clean left. Super clean.
Oh, the cleanest. Just no wind up. This is honestly the exact opposite of everything Chandler was throwing. It was it was just textbook form. Like Joe was saying, it looked like he was hitting mitts. Like it wasn't like he was like going for the kill, but it was just perfectly timed and perfectly placed.
Yeah, and just got Chandler like wobbled as hell, and then just poured the onslaught on him. And Chandler was like fully out at the end. Much.
Yeah, like because Chandler got back to his feet and had his back away, like running away, and then like so often we see came with the left, like
big left, leaping left hook. Yeah,
because it's a circle. Like I know where if you're running along, like I'm gonna meet you here. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a missile defense. Like you just the trajectory. he sent another left. So it was 2 lefts that dropped him 2 times, 2 for 2, and it was crazy seeing like. Honestly, bro, like if it would have been silhouettes, I know it's like kind of like a crazy concept. Like if you can't see names, anything, and you just saw like 2 silhouettes of how that knockout happened, I would have thought that was Chandler doing it to Oliveira.
100%.
Like it literally looked like a Michael Chandler knockout. Like it
the hit, the punch he dropped Hooker with was a huge left.
Dude, it was crazy. It was like this. It was wild. Like I thought it was pretty badass because, like, I mean, I didn't think that it was gonna be Oliveira by knockout, like a standing knockout. I thought it could have been maybe like a ground and pound or like a TKO, maybe. You know, just like, but like, gotta be honest. I didn't see even though I picked Oliveira to win, I didn't see standing left like a flash KO. Like that was impressive.
Oliveira was pumped to win. He ran outside the cage. That was sick. I actually enjoyed that. I was really happy for him. He seemed like a super cool, like genuinely happy guy right there. So I was pumped about that for him.
One of the best belt reactions we've gotten. Like I know 100%. We just had the Rose Namajunas one, which was gold too, but that was one of the best ones. That was so authentic. And,
the authenticity is what really got me about it because he was like in the moment, like so happy. Like you could tell that's all he has really wanted for like years. It looked like.
I want to introduce 2 pieces of context here because context number 1 being no fighter in UFC history has taken longer in 2 different ways, I believe, from debut to getting the belt wrapped around their waist. And I mean, what I mean by 2 different ways, I think he has 28 UFC fights between debut and belt, and that's a record. And then also, like, years-wise, I want to say it was like 11 years between his debut and him getting the belt. So on 2 different fronts, the longest gap between somebody making their UFC debut and winning the belt. So I thought, like that added context to that reaction we got. And then also, like, I mean, people that have been watching a long time know, and definitely Oliveira haters know, his, like, kind of, are you a quitter has been like called into question early in his career.
He's definitely not. I think that's been put to rest now.
Or maybe he was and overcame that. You know,
yeah, for sure. I'm saying, but at the moment, like that, he doesn't quit.
Every opportunity to quit last night. He had every opportunity to quit, and he chose. He found the reason not to, and
so
yeah.
I was just going to say, I think it's really obvious what Oliveira does, right? He's going to fight the winner of Poirier McGregor, and he hopes it's McGregor. And that's just pretty much like written on the wall.
Yeah.
Unless the winner takes crazy amounts of damage, and then they might put Gaethje in.
Or I see, like, what if there's like a Marvin Vettori scenario where Gaethje's like, if you want to be active and make a lot of money, like, I'll fight you in 2 months, and they won't be ready by then. And then you can still fight. If you beat me, you can still fight the winner of that. Because that's
I could definitely see that.
How Vettori got his title shot. Like, so, like, if Gaethje pulls a Vettori, and it takes 2 to tango if Oliveira's down for that, which seems like he would be. I don't see Oliveira having no in his vocabulary a whole lot, especially with the new contract. I'm sure he's going to make way more money as the belt holder. He's probably going to want to cash a few of those checks. I don't know, bro. I mean, what? Because I feel you, like, the writing on the wall. I think it's the safe play, the safe bet to say, like, yeah, he gets the winner of McGregor Poirier. But then also this theory's been kicked around on Twitter and things that what if the scenario Conor beats Dustin and then Conor has like zero interest in fighting Oliveira, like just for like name reasons?
No, Conor wants the belt. Conor wants the belt.
I would love to think so. I think that would be a super like whack move. Like I would definitely not like that. What the scenario I laid out would be super garbage.
The belt's more money, and he knows that. He's a businessman. Like it's just it just makes all the sense.
$100 million this year. We're talking extra money, like pockets, as Andrew Schultz say. That's pockets.
But if he's truly competitive and like if he really wants to fight, like if it's not
I'm
about
from the perspective Conor is, and he's so much a said so himself. He is the belt in his mind and his ego and his world that like I think he is like transcended that belt in my opinion. Like not even in my opinion, in Conor's own like perception of reality.
He's bigger than any division. He's as big as the UFC.
So I'm just saying, and I'm throwing out scenarios because the chalk answer is he fights the winner of Poirier and McGregor. End of conversation. But this is a podcast where we talk about different things. So I just wanted to throw out, and then man, it's really weird because I'm a huge Conor fan. I'm a big Conor fan. Like he's really the reason why I fell in love with the UFC. Him and Rashad Evans, other guys, but big reason. And a small little sinister part in the back of my head like wants Poirier to win because I think Poirier Oliveira would be so awesome.
Yeah, it would be sick. It would be sick.
And okay, we talked plenty about Oliveira. What's next? It's pretty much Poirier, Conor, wild card, maybe Gaethje pulls a Vettori. I think we're pretty much that's the conclusion we came to. Now, what is next for Michael Chandler? Let me say this. I did not like the fact that the man that lost the fight called for the rematch. Like, you don't get to do that. Like, he's like, I'll fight again. No, he didn't say immediate rematch, and he said it'll be within the next 12 months.
One second, bro. Hold on.
No, you're good. I have a feeling he might be getting a telephone call. You back?
Sorry. Yeah.
Good, bro.
My phone was tripping out.
No, you're good, my guy. But essentially what I wanted to get into real quick before we wrap it up. What's next for Michael Chandler? I didn't like the fact that he essentially said he'll be back in 12 months, which it kind of makes it seem like he's down for a fight, like he doesn't deserve immediate rematch. But I'm kind of like, man, you don't get a call for the next title shot if you just lost a title shot. But I don't know. What's your thoughts about that? I've made my thoughts clear.
I don't know what to do with Michael Chandler right now, man. Like, if he wants to, I mean, him and Dariush should be interesting, to be quite honest. Makes sense, too.
That's an option. I think him and Gaethje's an option. Like, I know I keep just inserting Gaethje, but it's because he needs to fight. And, like I feel like his pecking order has been established. Like, whether it's his fault, whether it's Dana's fault, like, I feel like he's kind of out of, like, the Grand Prix. Like, he's on the loser side of the bracket. But that's if you're painting Justin as the victim. You can also look at it like he got a shot at the belt before all of them. Like, against Khabib. So it's like the narrative is kind of out there painting Justin Gaethje as a victim. And I like Gaethje, and I want to see Gaethje fight soon. And I wouldn't mind seeing Gaethje fight for the belt. But I don't know if I'm really on board with the whole Gaethje's the victim and all this.
Oh, I don't think he's a victim at all. I think he's like, if anything, he's kind of being dumb by not trying to fight and stay active.
Yeah. So with that being said, I think Gaethje Chandler, I think that's A, fireworks. I think that's B, like, answers a lot of these questions we've been raising throughout this whole podcast about what do you do with that division and title shot implications. Because I think the winner of that would 100%, like, so say, like, then it turns into another tournament, right? Because, like, if the winner of Conor Poirier gets the next title shot, then I feel like the winner of Chandler Gaethje would get 100% the next title shot after that. And then you have a bunch of fun with all those losers.
But it's hard to market number 4 coming off a loss, getting to fight number 2 after he just lost to number 3, who's now the champion. I don't think it makes sense from a marketing perspective. Like, Chandler's going to have to go back and fight someone behind him.
You think?
Oh, he doesn't get someone above him. There's no way.
So he's already beat Hooker. Tony Ferguson, I mean, I don't think that's on the table at this point. Conor's 6. Is RDA just the answer to every question today? He's sitting there at 7 coming off a win. That'd be a fun fight.
It'd be fun. Dariush should be good, though, because it gets Dariush into the upper echelon if he beats Chandler because it's a name. And Chandler's off the loss, and Dariush wants someone that's ahead of Tony. Well, who's one ahead of Tony? Chandler.
And I got to say, man, all right, now let me ask you, all right, I know I keep saying last thing, but there's a lot of fun things to talk about this. Hooker went on Twitter after Chandler lost and said he said a broken clock's right twice a day, essentially insinuating that he got caught.
Yeah,
like it was a fluke. Now, after watching, is Chandler a little too reckless for this upper echelon? Like, obviously, I mean, another loss will kind of prove yes, and another win will prove no. But that's kind of my takeaway. Like, he definitely got out, like, technique last night. Like,
I don't know about that, actually. Like, because he just got caught with, like, a left hand and then finished, and that was 8 seconds into the start of a round, you know? Like, I feel like that was not necessarily luck, but, like, just the timing was just perfect, you know?
But every shot, I watched Chandler doing so much of this. And I know a boxing and Daniel Cormier get the telestrator and break down on details while he's doing more than just doing this. But he did a lot of whiffs of hooks like this, like kind of street fight style, just bum rush, and missed a lot. And Oliveira is not like the most elusive striker in the world. Like, I'm trying to imagine if those punches would work against the Conor McGregor. I don't think Conor's getting hit.
I don't think so.
Conor's boxing is way too crisp for that to work. So, yeah, and of course, I think if he fought Conor, he would lean more on his wrestling and try that approach. So it's not apples to apples. I feel you. But then, and then even like a Poirier. Like, I think if Poirier and Chandler are throwing hands, I like Poirier's straight shot.
Me too. Me too.
That's kind of what I'm getting at when I said, like, is he too wild? And you were saying, like, I don't think so. But
I mean yes and no, though, because he can knock any of those guys out. But he can knock any of those guys out too if he catches them.
Yeah, but we're also talking about lightweights and not heavyweights here, like that. And he even named his name Iron Mike. Like, that's what I'm saying. He has this like power punching kind of strategic game plan, and I know he has the wrestling credentials, but I guess that's more of it's more of a philosophical approach. And I know he's more well-rounded than that, but what have we seen his last two fights in the UFC? This is a UFC podcast. I'm sorry, I haven't watched all his Bellator fights, and that's how he always fights. That's how he always fights. Like, what you saw last night is exactly how he always fights.
That's
what I'm saying, bro. And Phil, I just don't know. Now, could that work against a Dariush, who we admittedly said is kind of a tear down, or like an old Tony Ferguson, or maybe even an RDA? Sure, it worked on Hooker, but if we're talking the creme de la creme, now that's part of another reason why I kind of like the Gaethje matchup, which Gaethje straightened out his punches a lot as he's progressed, but Gaethje has a little bit of that wild man. I think maybe be down I just can't hear names above Chandler's rank now. He just doesn't get those guys anymore. Because he's already gotten the benefit of the doubt once.
Yeah, he doesn't. He just doesn't get the. Yeah, I'm not giving him anyone above where he's already at.
I feel you. I honestly just also know the UFC's they paid him a lot of money. I feel like they want to get the return on investment, and just how big of a fight is Chandler RDA or Chandler. Chandler Felder or Chandler, maybe Tony Ferguson, or how big, or God forbid a Cowboy Cerrone, is that a big fight? Do people want to see that? Is that when we acknowledged at the start of this that there's they're playing by two sets of rules here. Conor be losing and he's still right there fighting Poirier.
Conor's different. Conor's different. He's as big as the UFC different. Itself.
I know. But I'm just saying, precedents are being set, and it's not always got to be straight chalk. I don't know. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying how the UFC is going to want to get return on investment and put Chandler in big fights.
But the UFC guys don't like him, so they're not going to agree to fight him now that he already lost to someone that is if you're Gaethje or Poirier. Or if Conor wins, then Conor's going to be like, no, I'm not fighting him. Conor might fight Chandler. I could see that.
But I could also see Gaethje needing to fight. He's already missed out on one round of dances. If you get rejected at the first dance, the second dance, the first girl that asks you, you're going to dance with her.
But Gaethje's been talking shit about him getting a shot at the title. He's mad about that. He's not going to fight him It's
He
just like
doesn't
he
have
will not sign
leverage
that
in these
contract.
negotiations. Like,
Yeah, he does because he won't sign it. It's as simple as that. Like he's
then he's
admitted.
retired then?
No, Gaethje said he's going to wait for the winner of Poirier and Conor.
The winner of Poirier and Conor is fighting Oliveira, bro.
I know that's what the UFC said, but Gaethje wants to try and get the winner of that. It's crazy. I don't know what he's doing.
But that's what I'm saying. So just Gaethje just doesn't fight anymore.
I don't know, bro. I don't know.
That's what I think. I think my solution makes a lot more sense because
it makes sense, but like he won't do that, is what I'm saying.
But I'm saying people, all right. But people's standards change. Like whenever you're not like in the position of a shot caller, like it's like okay,
if they throw enough money at him, you do it.
You're starting off a job search saying like I'm not working for anything less than $25 an hour, and then a couple weeks go by, your savings is getting spent up, you're running out of time. Okay, that 18 an hour, you're going to look a little harder at it now. Like, I feel like Gaethje is kind of getting put in that spot. Like, I mean,
but doesn't Oliveira and Gaethje make way more sense?
No, because what clearly makes sense is the winner of Poirier McGregor. That's what we've been saying for the past
But they
hour.
don't fight. But they don't fight till July.
So you're saying kind of a Vettori move where it's like a fast.
Yeah.
That's what I think Gaethje has in his back pocket that he's not currently using in his advantage. He's fresh. He's ready to go. Like, he doesn't need to wait on anything. Now, that's where I do agree with you, but I feel like that's on him to play that card, and if he doesn't play it, like, he can't – like, that's his only leverage is that he's ready now. Like, just like Vettori. Vettori played that card to a T, to a title shot that I'll go on record saying he didn't deserve.
Yeah, I agree.
That's how you do it. Vettori just laid down the game plan. He's not doing it. I haven't heard a peep, bro. I do nothing but watch and consume MMA content, and I haven't heard a peep.
I mean, we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel you, man. But it's cool though because it's like I said, what I said at the very beginning of this podcast, that like all those months of questionings of the tournament. Actually, you know what? It won't fully be settled until Oliveira fights the winner of essentially Poirier.
Bro, my phone's messing up again. I'm gonna probably have to dip.
No, it's all good. It's all good. It's all good, man. Like, subscribe. It's episode 47 of Beefy Boys Breakdown. It's all good. We have some technical difficulties. Appreciate everybody that tuned in. Huge shout out to George Kittle for commenting at the beginning. That was really cool. And yeah, go like, subscribe wherever you get your podcast or on YouTube. Thanks, everybody.